The story kicks off with Soul hearing the midnight bell toll and realizing he's right back exactly where he started, frustrated out of his mind. He desperately thinks that getting wiped out would be way better than enduring 3 whole days of this nightmare. It becomes pretty obvious that our MC is trapped in an endless time loop at the exact same hour. Lacking the guts to face the situation head-on, the young dude figures he needs to find a backdoor out of this, and fast. The only thing he can think of is to crawl under the counter to brainstorm an escape plan. Right then, the creepy face of a ghost comes floating slowly down the unlit aisle. While Soul cowers in his hiding spot, the Phantom relentlessly searches the area for him. The freaky creature moves without making a single sound through the dark corners of the convenience store. From his hiding spot, our guy deduces that horror movie stereotypes make this whole setup totally predictable. Any sudden movement, or even the glare from his phone screen, would be more than enough to give away his position. His only way out is to rack his brain for some crazy loophole that completely breaks the standard rules. Suddenly, he remembers a weird urban legend where the flow of time just stopped. Logically, the more popular a spooky story gets, the more bizarre glitches start popping up in it. At first, everyone follows the strict rules of an urban legend to the letter. But as it gets famous, the creators start throwing in a bunch of exceptions to the narrative. To break the boring cycle, the audience loves twisting the main events of the story. The MC's memory involved a group that survived after getting trapped in a super creepy hospital. The tale was supposed to be short, but a glitch added hours of extra darkness. He racks his brain trying to remember the specific rule for that weird scenario. Sweating bullets, the young guy wonders what crucial detail completely changed the ending of that legend. The answer hits him: a doctor's shift end alarm that, for some reason, didn't go off. A regular hospital worker had accidentally unplugged the phone cable. Because of that tiny mistake, time just kept ticking, and the sun never came up the next day. Right after they fixed the cable, the entity answered the phone and vanished into thin air. That story proved there's always some hidden mechanic that can end the night early. Considering that doing nothing made the night longer, triggering the mechanic ahead of time could wrap up this horror show way faster. Suddenly, his mind is flooded with thousands of emergency calls directed at the staff. The evil entity starts slowly floating toward the store counter again. Knowing exactly where our guy is hiding, the monster uses the voices to mess with his head. Facing an imminent game over, Sol Yim realizes his only option is to book it out of there as fast as humanly possible. Taking advantage of the second the creature freezes at the counter, he plots a quick dash down the side aisle. In a desperate bid to get away from the monster, the young dude sprints with everything he's got. But right in the middle of the aisle, a freaky, pale hand grabs his leg like a vice. The sudden jerk throws him off balance, and he crashes hard onto the freezing store floor. Since surviving for 3 days is off the table, he realizes he needs to find and trigger the ending mechanic right this second. The dark, empty store doesn't seem to have any obvious exits. Glancing at the date on the cash register, Sol Im focuses on figuring out what event actually ends the time loop. He runs through the mundane things that happen in a convenience store after a few days pass. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off. Check the expiration dates on the food. Since spoiled food always gets thrown out, tossing it early would force the system to skip ahead in time. Frantically searching the shelves, he finds the exact item he needs to pull off his crazy plan. Gripping the snack for dear life, our hero dashes back to the checkout counter. Right behind him in the shadows, the freaky entity keeps dragging itself silently in his direction. He tries to convince himself that all this stress is just his terrified brain playing tricks on him. Despite his absolute terror of getting eliminated, the young guy knows he has to focus on hacking the system. Step 1 of the master plan: fast forward the register's system date by 3 days. With his hands shaking like crazy, he punches in the future date, praying the computer doesn't crash. To his massive relief, the machine finally processes the manual override. Instantly, the monitor pops up a notification saying the item on the counter is expired. But the massive, creepy ghost is already floating menacingly right over his shoulder. A giant eye glares at the back of the MC's neck through a mop of black hair. Feeling that terrifying aura, he tells himself over and over to never, ever look back. The creature's breathing gets heavier as it demands its victim stay completely quiet. Keeping his eyes on the prize, the MC scans the barcode under the red laser. While the machine asks to confirm the disposal, the Phantom raises its dark arm, ready to strike. In one swift move, a finger smashes the confirm key on the register. The second the command goes through, the monster's freaky arm starts glitching out before it can even touch him. The disposal completed. Notification lights up the screen, lifting all that heavy pressure off the guy's shoulders. The dead silence of the room is only broken by the faint sound of water drops hitting the floor. As morning light floods the store, Sol Im stretches, just relieved he didn't bite the dust. The printed receipt is the ultimate proof that his insane plan actually worked. Sighing in relief, he admits that sunlight is pretty much mandatory for a stress-free life. He's so incredibly drained that he refuses to even think about pulling another all-nighter like that anytime soon. Just as he's about to clock out, the cash register drawer violently pops open. Startled by the noise, the young dude stares in shock at the fat stacks of cash bursting out of the machine. Hypnotized by all that dough, he decides that maybe the terrifying ghost wasn't such a bad guy after all. Somewhere far away, two coworkers are gossiping about how the new recruit is going to be stuck in there for at least 3 days. The female employee complains about how much she hates the mountain of paperwork she has to do during that long wait. Suddenly, her cell phone buzzes, cutting their chatter short. Right then, Sol Im opens the door to the base looking like he just crawled out of a war zone, totally wiped out. The two coworkers in the hall drop their jaws, shocked to see the kid back so soon without a single scratch. Checking her phone screen, the worker announces that the collection container has already hit max capacity. The official log shows the kid cleared the impossible mission in just 1 hour and 24 minutes. The sky, which was clear a minute ago, is now packed with dark clouds, proving how badly the real-time continuum just got warped. In the background, a mysterious guy eating a snack watches the whole scene go down with intense interest. The team leader takes a drag from her cigarette, assuming the newbie is still in there facing the legend all by himself. Since it's a 72-hour survival test, she figures he'll be fine with all the junk food in the store. Tossing a rookie into pitch black darkness with zero training has basically become the team's unofficial hazing ritual. Her coworker points out that this stunt has made a ton of rookies quit, bringing heavy heat from HR. The big question is why they even bother evaluating the newbies if the standard advice is just to quit before getting unalived for nothing. Watching a coworker get wiped out while doing nothing isn't exactly the vibe they're going for. It's a dark, painful memory they are desperately trying not to repeat. But the rookie, Kim Sol-im, caught the interest of both veterans right from the interview. It was obvious from day one that the kid had a personality totally outside the norm. He has this bizarre obsession with the job that honestly gives the people around him the creeps. Unlike most folks who lose their minds just hearing about the gig, the kid didn't flinch once. The team leader swears that having nerves of steel is a top-tier requirement for this hazardous line of work. Plus, a coward wouldn't survive the company's probation period anyway. The funny thing is, his resume made him look like a total wimp who only passed the screening out of sheer desperation. Looking at it that way, they realize this rookie is actually one super weird dude. The only red flag is that he never takes notes, which totally screams, first job ever. The supervisor mentions she needs to lecture him about logging information, since their lives literally depend on it. Taking notes lets them review cases later, especially since he jumped into this department completely blind. However, the system logs proved he actually knew the mission's quirks before he even set foot in it. Thinking about the schedule, the partner guesses the newbie won't be back for 72 hours and suggests they knock out the paperwork early. Suddenly, the electronic gear on the desk starts ringing, grabbing everyone's attention. Holding the glowing device, the veteran is totally clueless as to why it's vibrating out of nowhere. The surprise alert spooks the guy so bad he drops his drink and his stuff all over the floor. Utterly mind blown, the man's eyes bug out when he sees the device's memory is completely maxed out with data. The rulebook demanded a minimum of 3 days, but the rookie wrapped the whole thing up in a single hour. Looking totally drained, Sol-im lets out a heavy sigh and admits he almost had a heart attack from being so scared in there. The veteran quickly connects the dots, remembering that the convenience store anomaly was supposed to last a full 72 hours. Chilling on the break room sofa, he asks how the kid managed to bust out before the timer was up. Cool as a cucumber, our MC casually explains he just fast-forwarded the event clock using the cash register. Shocked by how chill the answer was, the veteran instantly decides the newbie is a straight-up prodigy at field missions. Hyped about the broken record, the veteran declares the team needs to fully back this new legend so he can settle in. Grabbing the rookie's hands, he practically begs not to be forgotten when the kid inevitably becomes a millionaire boss. The two of them listen closely as Sol-im decides to drop the act and tell them how he actually survived. Our hero confesses he was absolutely terrified and his only big brain move was running like a maniac so he wouldn't get eliminated. Realizing what actually went down, the leader just sighs and asks him to give her a heads up before he breaks the game rules again. Annoyed by his fake humility, she refuses to believe someone who speedrun the mission that fast actually thought they were gonna kick the bucket. Resting her chin on her hand, the supervisor changes the subject and asks how much bank the kid made on the op. Since they always get paid after clearing a run, he tells them he scored a sweet 10 million won, sliding the fat stack of cash across the table. The young dude hands the money over to his bosses. The supervisor pushes it back, explaining the corporate suits usually take 50%, but his epic clear meant he got to keep the whole pie. The rookie feels super guilty getting treated this nicely, sweating bullets because the situation feels too good to be true. The actual payout was literally double that, and his original master plan was to hide the other half of the stash. Moving past the cash, the leader announces it's time for the most important part of their job. The partner breaks into a huge grin, saying it's time to check their points in the reward catalog. The monitor pulls up Sol Im's account, showing a measly starting balance of 100 points for the cleared task. Skimming the rulebook, he figures out that surviving a low-risk mission nets you exactly 100 reward points. The young guy browses the corporate platform, trying to find anything remotely useful to buy. To his surprise, the system sells completely normal everyday stuff, like a robot vacuum. The kid's jaw drops at the massive variety of modern tech listed on the site. However, his eyes lock onto a magic wish ticket that costs an insane 500,000 points. The shock is so real he almost falls out of his chair seeing that absurd price tag on the screen. Checking out the tier list, the rookie notices that harder missions hand out way fatter paychecks. If he split the reward of a mid-tier run with the squad, he calculates he'd need to grind 150 missions. The catch is, the survival rate for mid-tier events is a miserable 2% for regular humans. Spamming runs in a zone with that kind of mortality rate is basically begging for an early game over. Ignoring the rookie's internal panic, the older partner walks up and asks if he logged his score right. Taking advantage of the interruption, Sol Im notices how crazy neat the desk is and asks whose stuff it is. The partner casually mentions that this spot actually belongs to the big boss of their squad. The young dude freezes on the spot, realizing he just hacked into the supervisor's PC without asking. Shrugging it off, the veteran promises the boss rarely shows up and doesn't care, as long as they don't break his stuff. He adds that their daily grind involves literal ghosts, so common sense went out the window a long time ago. With his brain going a mile a minute, the kid realizes he's got to cook up a genius plan to stay breathing. Putting his hands on the keyboard, he decides that breaking a few company rules is going to be absolutely mandatory. Staring at the monitor, the young guy focuses on his sketchy goal of milking the corporate system for buffs. A sticky note slapped on the monitor frame literally had the supervisor's login and password on it. A total joke of security. Riding that lucky break, our hero tries to log into the reward catalog using the manager profile. The machine barks back an incorrect data error, which doesn't faze our little hacker in the slightest. The system required an uppercase letter, a pretty standard rule that wasn't written on the sticky note. Just by capitalizing the first letter, the login clicks, and the manager dashboard loads up. The kid throws a mini party in his head, feeling super relieved to nail step one of his cyber heist. The reality is, the system hides exclusive banners that only high-ranking suits can see. Those links lead straight to an illegal black market run by otherworldly beings who hacked the company's servers. To get into this hidden catalog full of smuggled loot, you gotta pull off a rapid-fire sequence of clicks. Exploiting a system glitch, he hits the back button 5 times in a row. Instantly, the interface flashes, popping up a sketchy ad offering crazy fast power-ups. The modded cursor smoothly clicks the hidden pop-up that sneaks onto Sol Im's work screen. Company policy states that clearing a case by the book gives the worker 50% of the profits. But corporate greed hoards the other half and straight up steals the entire payout from a rookie's first run. Remembering the weird picture his coworker showed him earlier, the young guy finally gets where that item came from. That pop-up looking like a retrovirus was actually an underground black market meant for managers. Knowing company IT logs browser history, the kid decides to access the pirate site from the safety of his own home. The hidden dark web advertises wild deals on alien tech for employees looking to fast-track their corporate ladder climb. Locked in on his sketchy scheme, Sol Im memorizes the exact URL so he doesn't leave a trail on the office computers. Safe in his room, he punches the address into his phone using the boss's stolen credentials. Immediately, the screen starts glitching hard, vomiting unreadable code and alien text all over the display. When it finally loads, the slick, completely extraterrestrial interface of the black market pops up. Annoyed by the laggy site, our hacker complains that this bootleg webpage isn't even optimized for mobile. Even though it looks like a cheap scam, he knows this site holds the exact gear he needs to not get wiped out at work. Ready to blow his entire stash of cash, he scrolls through the site looking for the ultimate defensive gear. The catalog of mythical artifacts lists impossible items priced in the millions, proving they ain't from Earth. Recognizing most of the gear thanks to his nerd knowledge of urban myths, our hero celebrates his tactical edge. Some familiar stuff, like silverware, a walkie-talkie, and a picnic basket, have super obvious uses for his master plan. The main roadblock is that the exclusive bundles cost millions and would bankrupt him in a split second. Armed with his massive payout from the last run, the young guy tries to focus on what will give him the best bang for his buck. The alien system instantly validates his purchase, draining a huge chunk of change from his corporate account. A success notification flashes happily, telling him the secret package has already been shipped via Space Express. Totally mind blown by the shipping update, the kid freezes, trying to process how the heck Alien Prime delivery works. A timer counts down a whopping 2 seconds before vanishing, revealing the instant delivery. A literal wormhole tears open in his ceiling, dropping 2 heavy packages right into his shaking hands, holding the alien loot. Sol Im is amazed that breaking the rules can pay off this well. Staring at the logo on the box, he admits his new crazy life is equally terrifying and awesome. Pushing past his hesitation, the rookie tears the box open, dying to get his hands on his shiny new gear. The first artifact is the famous Alice Legend kit, packed with magic snacks that can either double a curse or snap it in half. The second defensive item is the magic coin, bought entirely because a ridiculous flash sale practically forced him to snag it. Checking out the specs of the metal coin, the tactician admits the $1 million discount was just too good to ignore. Since some coins spike in value on the black market, his big brain play is to flip the silver for a long-term profit. Always the logical thinker, Sol Im writes off his sketchy purchase as a top-tier financial investment. Browsing the other lethal options on the pirate site, the rookie realizes he skipped the rest because they'd be totally useless in the field. Using the forks would mean he'd have to fight giant monsters like an idiot, relying on feeding the beast to win. Brawling with colossal ghosts up close, armed with nothing but cutlery, is basically a speedrun to a tragic game over. Popping a long-range walkie-talkie would look super sus during a mission, since his bosses would never approve it. Plus, if they ever audited him for a receipt, his illegal hack would be exposed, getting him instantly fired. Applying his cold survival logic, the young guy concludes that buying cheap, portable tools was the absolute best call. His defenses just got a massive invisible buff, combining his nerd knowledge of the system guides with his crazy expensive new loot. Super hyped about his successful haul, the tactician happily notes that he absolutely loves blowing his own cash. The kid's biggest fear right now is the spooky warning that alien ghosts might be hiding inside the shipping boxes. Ignoring the phantom threat, the space platform just drops a pop-up begging for a 5-star review for perfect service. As late afternoon hits the company HQ, the squad casually announces it's time to kick off the routine lockdown mission. The older partner plays down the danger, claiming low-tier ghosts are basically a walk in the freaking park. The leader also looks totally chill, and Sol Im feels a huge wave of relief that he doesn't have to face the dark alone this time. Prepping for the mental gymnastics, the rookie reads the guides explaining the strict rules of a fake TV show anomaly. The logs warn that the darkness turns the place into a sick stage where anyone who stutters or messes up gets brutally messed up. Trying to keep the team alive, the veteran gently hands out the scripts so his coworker can memorize the answers. The short-haired woman shoots down the papers instantly, bragging that she memorized the whole thing on the first read. Shocked by her totally reckless attitude, the veteran starts rattling off crazy death stats, begging her to use the cheat sheet. Leaning into their competitive banter, the young guy jokes that the big boss of the department is gonna love their genius new rookie. That joke gets the kid's brain gears turning, reminding him that the main squad leader is still MIA like an actual ghost. The squad's morning betting pool had the boss coming back to lead this run, but the room is still just the 3 of them chatting. Listening to a frustrating voicemail, the woman grumbles that their manager is going to be AWOL until tomorrow afternoon. Sick of the mega corporation's abuse, she trashes their brilliant idea of sending the freshest newbie into a live fire zone with zero backup. The toxic quota system forces the lower Tear grunts to face the grinder just because they are short-staffed. Turning her attention to the sweating newbie, she asks ice cold if the prodigy has already memorized the survival script. The big guy pats the rookie's tense shoulders, promising a super easy win, which honestly just makes Sol nauseous from anxiety. Sighing at the terrible mission planning, the worker adjusts her uniform, declaring that the three of them should be enough to wipe the zone. The newbie hides his panic like a pro, firmly believing this is the universe punishing him for stealing all those digital funds. Trying not to have a meltdown before the tragedy hits, the young guy accepts the hard truth. He has zero clue what goes down in this extra anomaly. Walking into the pitch-black messes with his head, punishing his arrogance for thinking he was lucky just because he memorized some rules. Holding the cursed script for the sick game show, he realizes just how screwed he is, losing his foresight advantage right at the start. The black pen officially seals their violent entry into the legend, carving the trio's names into the twisted rulebook of this dark spectacle. The darkness hijacks the team's senses, spreading a graveyard silence that sends the first real chills down their spines. Old magazines left in the drawers act as lethal bait, flashing fake ads that lure clueless victims into fatal game shows. From speakers hidden in the shadows, a robotic voice throws out a confusing question to test the horror-addicted audience. Following the voice, blinding spotlights sweep the darkness way too fast, frying human eyes with their intense glare. Vintage neon signs reveal a flashy set built purely to decorate the cruel show of a mystery host who tortures his guests. The fake environment comes alive to a bizarre instrumental soundtrack mixed with the sounds of a phantom crowd screaming their heads off. The evil presence running the show telepathically declares that the magic of TV is the twisted bond it makes with sickos who love watching tragedies. A massive drum crash ends the intro speech, rattling the metal beams of the claustrophobic room packed with hijacked souls. Taking center stage under a golden spotlight, the freaky monster, who literally has a TV for a head, points its left hand forward, perfectly mimicking an over-the-top, charismatic host. The creature's moves grab the terrified attention of the new prisoners dragged out of the dark. Greeting his new targets with sadistic hype, the stage master politely demands they hide their fear with massive smiles so the hellish show can go on. The robotic studio voice orders everyone to face the event looking absolutely thrilled to be there. Right then, Sol notices the freak in the middle has a CRT TV for a face, guessing he's the guy running the broadcast. The entity makes a wild hand gesture, milking the invisible crowd for even more applause. The power of this terrifying spectacle is fueled entirely by the hype of the ghost audience tuning in. On cue, the mass of unseen souls start screaming in pure hype from the dark bleachers. Looking around, our hero feels a weird wave of relief that he isn't completely losing his mind like he thought he would. Just seeing the monster as some goofy dude with a TV on his head actually keeps the kid from going insane. The set itself isn't even that scary. It looks exactly like an old-school American late-night talk show. But a sudden thought makes the kid freeze as he connects the dots of what he's looking at. The classic talk show layout flashes in his mind, triggering a massive red flag. The whole concept of a trivia game where the player miraculously has all the answers on a cheat sheet feels way too familiar. Totally stressing out, the young guy finally realizes exactly which deadly urban legend this cursed set belongs to. Cutting off his internal panic, the TV monster points right at the camera lenses, totally pumped to start the show. A countdown clock flashes on the screen, while the kid's corporate device pings to warn him how lethal this zone actually is. The timer hits 0, officially kicking off the nightmare and making it clear that survival here is basically a 0% chance. The real story behind this bloodbath started from a super basic anomaly back in the 70s. Just like a movie script, the whole tragedy kicked off in a zone that was classified as a total cakewalk. Through the static-filled broadcast, the monster cheerfully greets the audience tuning in to his weekly show. The creature claims he lives for Tuesdays, since that's the only day they actually record the program. This VIP access is the perfect excuse for the sadistic monster to judge his new victims up close. The company logs showed that the first 99 trips into this set went super smooth with 0 casualties. The absolute massacre only actually happened when the company tried to run mission number 100. Lit by a spotlight, the TV-faced freak announces it's time to call the contestants to the stage. The codenames Badger Falcon and Little Deer echo through the studio, calling them to their podiums. The announcer asks if the guests have what it takes to keep the winning streak alive this week. Blinded by the lights, Sol hears the entity announce the start of episode 110. The kid's heart drops when he realizes that episode number lines up perfectly with exploration number 99. Turning his head just a bit, the rookie checks out how his teammates are holding up at the next podiums. Both veteran partners are looking completely chill and confident, staring down the freaky TV guy. Seeing them so relaxed, our hero banks on the math that the real bloodbath shouldn't happen until the next episode. Even with that fake sense of security, Sol Im clenches his fists, remembering he's still standing in a lethal legend. The survival guide clearly stated that any act of rebellion or interrupting the shoot would get you instantly incinerated. Making the stress 10 times worse, the monster drops the bomb that the show is broadcasting completely live. Hosting an unscripted live show means a single screw up from the players is an automatic game over. Noticing the rookie sweating, the entity sarcastically asks if Little Deer is feeling okay. Keeping his mental shields up, the young guy quickly plays it off as just normal first-time TV jitters. Happy with the submissive answer, the creature nods, makes a dramatic gesture, and kicks off an easy trivia round. The first question asks them to pick which option is noti part of human biology, pointing at dirt. Without missing a beat, a happy ding echoes through the studio, confirming he scored. The veteran of the group gets the same easy treatment, nailing his question and radiating pure confidence. The team supervisor also picks the right answer in a flash, looking completely bored by this freaky game. Trying to farm some drama, the monster acts all hyped, claiming the rookie is struggling to pick an answer. Hesitating a bit, he gambles on suffocation, praying he doesn't get roasted alive for making a typo. Flashing a massive CORTL sign, the monster validates the answer, and the kid finally remembers how to breathe. They hit a flawless winning streak, and the rookie mentally celebrates that the cheat sheet is actually working. With a perfect score flashing on the big screen, the creature announces it's time for the final question of the broadcast. The freak stretches its arm out, pointing right at our hero's podium for the big finale. The host leans in, asking if the dark-haired kid can handle the pressure of the final round. The monitor strictly asks for the exact amount of blood loss that causes a human to kick the bucket. Staring at the 4 options on the screen, the young guy runs the basic medical facts to give his final answer. With a steady voice, he clearly states that option A is the right answer to the challenge. But, totally breaking the script, he also lumps in the next 2 options in his sentence. The masked monster freezes in absolute shock, hearing the player pick the 3rd and 4th options at the same time. Staring him down, the young guy coldly states that every single one of those scenarios would result in a game over. His bulletproof logic is that losing more than 50% of your blood would definitely take you out. The camera zooms in close on the insane guts of a player picking multiple choices at once. A creepy voice echoing from the dark ominously asks if he wants to rethink that suicide play. Holding his ground, the rookie declares he's not changing a thing until the show is over. Scratching his TV head, the monster mutters that the official answer key only had the first option. But then, caught up in a wild hype wave, the entity goes totally nuts, praising the rookie's insane guts. Loving the kid's audacity, the monster counts it as a flawless victory, wiping away all of Sol Im's stress. A digital Yahello graphic splashes across the screen, marking the epic end of episode 110 of the haunted show. Completely ignoring the bored veterans, the monster declares that only a true legend can be the king of his stage. Confetti rains down on the newbie's podium, crowning the kid as the MVP of the round. Utterly confused, he just accepts the ridiculous prize, saying thanks on autopilot without grasping why this is happening. Smiling from pure relief, the grand champion is just hyped he didn't get wiped out during the test. The system confirms that run 99 is officially cleared, unlocking the exits the second the lights go out. The TV entity waves at the camera, saying bye to the ghost crowd and swearing he'll be back next Tuesday. Out of nowhere, the broadcast screen starts glitching hard, tearing the feed with static and color bars. The stage lights crash down with a massive bang, plunging the monster's desk into pitch black. All the flashy energy in the room completely dies, turning the set into a freezing, abandoned wasteland. In that exact split second, another squad of hunters magically spawns out of the dark auditorium. Sol Im's 2 veterans stare at the new crew, totally clueless about the random shift change. The rookie's eyes lock in pure horror when the digital board flashes the cursed number, run 100. Recognizing his own squad member standing there, the kid realizes the actual bloodbath is about to drop. The guy with glasses goes into full-blown shock seeing the fresh rookies frozen like statues. He suddenly remembers the brutal rule from the Gaida. Anyone who tries to interfere gets burned alive on the spot. Just thinking about that penalty flashes horrific images of people turning to ash in a heartbeat. The squad leader watches the scene pouring cold sweat, completely torn on what the hell she's supposed to do. Meanwhile, the TV monster cheerfully hypes up an exclusive sneak peek for next Tuesday's episode. Spotting the lethal red flag, the woman hisses at her team to stay absolutely still. After all, the main studio camera is still tracking their every move with its glowing red lens. Our MC focuses on the creepy warning note that says disrespectful audience members get permanently cancelled. Right then, panic hits him like a truck as the young guy mentally curses this whole insane circus. On the other side, the host points gleefully at the monitor, demanding everyone stick around for next week's drop. A massive wave of confetti floods the set while a super hype outro track blasts from the speakers. The freak officially wraps up today's show and promises to come back with an even sicker main event. The giant golden credits roll up, officially pulling the plug on that shift's haunted broadcast. The second the lights die, the creature lets out a massive sigh and admits they almost tanked the live feed. The big partner sweeps up the mess and agrees they got super lucky fixing the glitch in time. Hyping up Sol Yim's skills, the entity has the nerve to casually ask if he wants to become a series regular. The kid shoots down the crazy offer instantly, bluntly stating he already has a 9 to 5. Faking a pout, the host whines about the rejection and notices the guests are looking pretty shocked too. He tries to play nice with the veteran duo, swearing he knows their little glitch wasn't on purpose. Turning his back on the crew, the monster cheerfully promises they'll get their shot in the spotlight real soon. But suddenly, the creature freezes in its tracks, listening to some silent cue in the studio. Staring down the trio, the monster scratches the side of its TV head and admits the next update is a bit of a bummer. The neon sign on the set shorts out and flashes the dreaded message: the show is officially cancelled. Breaking the news, the host darkly explains that the classic format has been totally scrapped, but he tries to soften the blow, swearing this isn't the end and hyping up some good news. The mission leader freezes in the dark, muttering, "No way," in total despair. The woman quickly realizes that this bizarre format switch is exactly the nightmare scenario she feared most. This is the exact same cursed trap that triggered the company's infamous run number 100. The survivor logs from back then showed that the fatal event started out looking completely normal. But when the staff asked about the change, the freak just said the old format got boring for the viewers. Way too hyped, the host invites the whole crew to join the brand new segment that's about to launch. Sol Im tries to play it smart and says they already had their turn, pointing out they really need to get back to base. The monster's TV face glows blood red, getting super offended at the idea of someone bailing mid-shoot. Dropping heavy threats on the duo, he growls that walking off the set is going to make things very ugly for them. The giant screen demands an answer, forcing the terrified leader to yell that they aren't turning down the invite. Sweating bullets, she makes up a weak excuse, swearing they just didn't expect to shoot back-to-back episodes. Desperate for a safe exit, the newbie scrambles to find a good excuse so they don't get wiped out right there. The risky play is to beg for some prep time and book it, promising they'll totally come back next week. But right at that second, a freaky stagehand holds up a cue card confirming the new set is ready to go. Clapping his hands, the host shuts down their escape plan and orders everyone to their marks immediately. Staring at the glowing monster, the kid realizes that using normal human logic on this thing is a total waste of time. The digital clapperboard flashes cold, starting the lethal 3-second countdown for the show's return. A booming accordion blasts through the speakers, tossing the trio back under the absurd, blinding stage lights. Torn-up sheet music floats around the arena while a super creepy melody introduces the new programming block. The MC greets the invisible crowd, promising their Tuesday late night is going to be absolute fire. Flashing his cue cards, the host swears the new bit is 1,000 times better than that dusty old trivia game. The creature goes on a rant, claiming that human voices are the most beautiful sound capable of moving any heart. The veterans gulp in pure terror as the monster has the guts to promise they are gonna love the big surprise. A gruesome blood-soaked figure takes the stage, tearing reality apart to kick off the dreaded Tuesday choir. The pig-headed freak is introduced with massive hype as the grand maestro of the network's filthy melodies. The bizarre butcher just stares into the void, demanding the host bring out his working instruments. Tilting his screen face up to the dark ceiling, the suited monster finally gives the green light to drop the musical gear. A circular silver platter drops from above, cutting the air with a hum that sends chills down the trio's spines. A bunch of shiny platters swing down on wires, ready to collect the cruel donations from the guests. The squad leader tells the guy with glasses to go first and try to secure a quick ABU for their side. Pointing with zero mercy, the talking TV hands the opening round exactly to the target it wanted. The cursed screen flashes the question, demanding to know which of the 4 living beings has the longest lifespan. Sweeting buckets, the guy gambles on the human race, praying the old survival rules still apply. The correct answer dings in a burst of celebration, but the winner's head just flies off in a massive splatter. The dark rules demand that the freaky choir needs exactly 13 platters filled with human offerings. The severed head is brutally slammed onto the silver tray, kicking off the terrifying choir of the shadows. The mutilated head wakes up, screaming its own answer over and over like a sick chorus. The leader collapses on the floor, tearing her throat out in an agonizing scream as she watches her buddy become a gruesome instrument. Totally stuck on the platter, the ghost cries, repeating the word human. Between heavy, painful sobs, driven mad by fear, the girl cries hysterically, screaming her dead partner's name at the top of her lungs. Totally ignoring the tragic vibe in the studio, the host bounces back to his hype persona and announces the next step. The shadowy finger points right at the sobbing woman, demanding to know if she's ready to play. The worker cries uncontrollably, accepting it's game over and just begging him to get the punishment over with. With a lethal snap of his fingers, the monster executes her, blowing the victim up into thousands of colorful flower petals. Faking a sad sigh, the host whines about the contestant failing to make the cut for the band. A dark memory about the record-breaking wipeout of a full squad hits the MC's brain like a truck. He realizes in pure terror that there's no way out. Missing the question means you vanish, and getting it right turns you into an eternal torture prop. A harsh reality check tells him those recent victims were never actually logged in the company's official survivor files. Just then, the red smiley face on the screen turns right to Sol Yum, calling him to the center of the kill zone. Cornered in the middle of this murder circus, the newbie freezes, imagining his own head on a platter if he passes the test. Trapped in the dark, Sol Im locks his eyes forward, feeling the crushing weight of this lethal room. Gripping his hands super tight, he fights to keep his cool, ordering his brain not to hit the panic button. Locked in, the young guy reminds himself that he's the only one here with a legit advantage against this ghost. What he's feeling isn't just fear, it's the awe of watching a literal natural disaster unfold in front of him. Despite the absolute terror, our hero anchors himself to the fact that he read the wiki and actually has solid odds of making it out. Next, the entity calls out Badger, while the severed head keeps screaming the answer in the background. Flashing a cute little face on the monitor, the host demands the attention of the veteran partner he just called up. Out of nowhere, Sol Yum raises his hand, grabbing the creature's attention, which the monster actually loves. The rookie politely asks to say a few words before the round kicks off, and the monster cheerfully agrees. Spinning a total lie, the kid claims he has a sick relative in the hospital who desperately needs a visit. The fake sob story hits the monster right in the feels, making literal cartoon tears stream down the TV glass. The squad leader is paralyzed by the acting job, while the entity asks what the young man decides to do. Without missing a beat, the young guy calls out to the host again, shattering the tension in the room. Amazed by his guts, the MC asks if Little Deer has anything else to share with the class. Watching all this, the woman panics, knowing full well that interrupting this show is basically pressing the suicide button. Faking a sudden illness, Sol Yum mutters that he's dizzy and about to pass out right there on the set. Clutching his chest, he asks with a weak voice if he could just rest a tiny bit before continuing. The TV anomaly completely freezes, sweating pixels, because it has no clue how to handle a medical emergency on set. The host snaps his fingers, realizing that having a sick contestant pass out on stage is a massive PR disaster for the show. To the kid's absolute shock, the monster decides to cut the feed and calls for an immediate 30-minute recess. The mission leader's jaw hits the floor when she realizes the newbie just paused the death game and didn't get roasted alive. Sighing in massive relief, the guy realizes his crazy gamble paid off perfectly and just saved everyone's skins. He knew perfectly well that stopping a live broadcast usually hands out an instant game over penalty. But because he showed a friendly face on the panel, the entity actually prioritized the health of its favorite player. This whole emotional manipulation only worked thanks to the hidden buff from the sticker he bought on the alien black market. The static on the screen proves that blowing his fortune in that illegal space shop was 100% worth it. Looking super worried, the host orders security to escort Little Deer to the green room with a glass of water. The freak acts like a caring mom, telling the kid to hydrate and take deep breaths before they go back on air. In that moment, our tactician cracks a tiny, victorious smirk for pulling off his big brain play perfectly. The giant timer starts ticking down the break, buying the squad the precious time they desperately needed. Sol Im subtly bumps into the leader, knowing he has to use this window to cook up a real escape plan. Brushing past his stunned coworker, he whispers an order for her to protect the big guy with her life. Without looking sus in the studio, the MC picks up the pace and walks straight into the empty break room. The second the door shuts, the kid collapses from pure exhaustion, dumping all the brutal stress he was holding in. Even though he scored this miracle timeout, half an hour isn't even enough time for his heart rate to go back to normal. But the clock is ticking, and he immediately focuses on the weird gadget his supervisor slipped him outside. The kid inspects the tiny piece of tech with intense focus, trying to figure out what the heck it actually does. Studying the little disc, the rookie guesses it works like some kind of panic button transmitter. Skipping the tutorial, he just mashes the center of the device, hoping it triggers something useful. Soon, a phone ringing sound echoes, and a super deep voice picks up on the other end of the mystery signal. The suit on the radio answers and introduces himself with dead serious energy as Lee Jae-hyun. Our MC instantly realizes he's got a direct hotline straight to the corporate bigwigs. Clutching the tiny device, the young guy figures this button might be the only safe ticket out of this mess. After verifying the guy's ID, he realizes he's actually talking to the supreme commander of the squad. Throwing protocol out the window, Sol Im bluntly states that the whole team is gonna get wiped out in 30 minutes. Showing zero panic, the leader grasps how bad it is and tells the rookie to give him the cliff notes. The kid explains the crazy musical game show and swears that once the break ends, it's game over for the trio. The boss tells him to stall for time, but shuts down any hope of outside backup once he hears the show can't be delayed. Filled with rage, the young guy can't believe the boss is acting so chill about his employees getting taken out. Choking back his anger, Sol Im asks if buying some crazy extra time would actually give them a shot at a real rescue. The leader explains that getting approvals and traveling from the base takes almost an hour before the cavalry can even show up. Processing the math, the tactician realizes in pure shock that the boss was planning to solo raid this hellhole. A massive realization hits him: this overpowered dude must be a key VIP character from the lore. Using his wiki knowledge, the rookie focuses on how insanely broken it'll be to have a top-tier name fighting on his side right now. To confirm if his savior is actually who he thinks he is, the kid asks about the mask the guy wears. Back on the terrifying stage, the creature happily calls out to Little Deer over the chaotic studio noise. Radiating good vibes, the host asks if he's feeling any better, and the young guy politely thanks him for caring. The friendly welcome proves that the illegal alien sticker magic is still totally hacking the monster's emotions. Stashing the comms device, the kid hypes himself up, knowing his most reckless strat is already in motion. Looking at his stressed out coworker, his main objective is just keeping the three of them breathing until the cavalry breaches the studio. Keeping his poker face locked in, the kid interrupts the monster's rant and asks for the mic again. Thrilled to have him participate, the monster asks what special message the contestant wants to drop on stage. The trick requires inflating the host's ego to the moon, so the young guy swallows his pride and starts aggressively simping for the dark enemy. Using fancy words, the rookie swears that the entity's loving dedication to producing this show is undeniable. He glazes the set's flashy visuals and the host's incredible pacing, proving that pure terror creates Oscar-worthy actors. The hardcore bootlicking actually works, and the TV monitor flashes bright red from sheer embarrassment. Absolutely glowing from the praise, the host tries to play it humble, but the young guy immediately shifts gears. Getting straight to the point, Sol Im argues that randomly changing the format totally killed the original magic the event had. Roasting the new show's flaws, the kid complains about missing the classic trivia game and the lack of a real-life studio audience. The kid only knew all this lore thanks to the posters plastered all over the walls of the break room he just chilled in. The room's vibe proved the host's true passion was hype game shows and a genuine desire to interact with people. Riding that logic, the tactician drops the bait, accusing the hellish network of slashing the show's budget on purpose. Wrapping up his spicy critique, he guesses the producers tossed quality in the trash just so they could hire the pig mastro. Right at that exact second, a violent blast of static hijacks the host's monitor out of nowhere. Instantly dropping the smile, the host coldly warns the contestant that he has absolutely zero right to talk about network business. Keeping the fake fanboy act going, Sol Im claims he was a hardcore stan of the old trivia format and is just bummed his favorite show is gone. The monster puts a hand to its screen in deep thought, grumbling that the entertainment biz is brutal and forces you to accept the new meta. Suddenly, the entity perks up, its head shape shifting as it totally agrees that the classic version was way better too. The host gets super nostalgic about the good old days when he chatted with the crowd and kept the stage buzzing with insane energy. Listening closely, the young guy thinks to himself that the old format was definitely the lesser of two evils, but trashes that useless thought. Returning to his polite host persona, the creature apologizes for getting too caught up in his own feelings on set. Out of nowhere, a high-pitched shriek of static shatters the monitor's stability, making everyone in the room jump. Ignoring the glitch, the stage master announces there's only 1 minute left until they go live and orders everyone to their marks. With his trap perfectly set, our MC runs through his master plan while the seconds tick away silently in his head. The moments fly by, and the severed head on the platter waits for the lethal return of the Sixth Symphony. The digital clock hits 0 with a deafening buzzer, signaling that the death show is officially back on the air. The darkness swallows the studio lights again, turning the whole place back into a cinematic nightmare. While chilling in the green room, the kid worked overtime connecting the dots of the massive chaos he was trapped in. He had aimed his comms device, remembering to ask the $1,000,000 question about what the top boss of the exploration sector actually looks like. The straight-up answer from HQ confirmed that the overpowered boss literally operates wearing a reptilian lizard mask. Back in the arena, the monster points at the veteran, declaring it's time for the ultimate final answer. Absolutely consumed by pure terror, the guy with glasses bugs his eyes out, feeling the Grim Reaper breathing down his neck. Worried sick about his partner, Sol-Im turns his head, desperate to see any sign of life from his coworker. The tactician quickly realizes the big guy is 1 second away from throwing in the towel and admitting he doesn't know the answer. Based on the game's sick rules, getting burned to a crisp in one shot was way more humane than becoming a singing prop on a platter. Refusing to let his partner rage quit, the kid screams at the veteran to just guess, yelling that this is no time to AFK. The older man stares at the newbie, completely blown by this random burst of courage in the middle of a literal death trap. Leaning on his glowing desk, the host coldly announces the contestant has exactly 3 seconds to lock it in. A suffocating silence chokes the studio while sweat pours down the trapped veteran's forehead. In a final panic move, the guy picks the option about burns, and the entity fakes a cheer, validating the correct answer. The pig maestro steps into the center ring, throwing his arms up violently to celebrate scoring another vocalist for his choir. But a metallic clank breaks the script right under our hero's desk, revealing a magic drawer popping open with force. A thin cardboard box slides out of a weird beam of light, finally explaining the boss's Super Express delivery service. On the call, the boss made it crystal clear that the mini portal could only squeeze small items into the anomaly. The young guy scans the item and realizes this piece is the exact trigger he needs to pop off his crazy strategy. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the MC orders his partner to chuck that item as hard and as far as humanly possible. The package smashes into the floor, setting off a flashbang of light that temporarily blinds everyone in the cursed studio. A massive wave of emerald energy morphs into a giant spirit blade, completely nuking the pig maestro's zone. Right after the devastating hit, just a regular old battery rolls harmlessly across the shattered set floor. Watching that impossible strike, the newbie confirms his wild theory was 100% foolproof. The main strat was banking entirely on the lizard's brute strength, famous in the wikis for just punching urban legends into submission. Even though he wasn't exactly a tactical genius, the boss had this broken, surreal power that just ignored and crushed anomaly limits. The maestro barely dodges the hit, backing up, while the kid prays the chaos stuns the broadcast for a few seconds. Totally lost in the sauce, the host screams for the musician over and over, demanding the new choir boy get baptized right now. Petrified by the mess, the butcher pig just stares into space, straight up ignoring every direct order from the TV boss. In that exact second, a massive pillar of red fire crashes down, ripping through the ceiling structure with absolute violence. The pig lets out a horrifying shriek of agony as it gets hit head-on by the fire drill, getting mashed up with zero mercy. The newbie freezes in total shock, absolutely terrified by the speed and brutality of the surprise execution. The squashed ghost clutches its own throat, screaming desperately, totally unable to process getting bodied by its own boss. Furious flames take over center stage while the host screams, demanding to know who ruined the purity of his beloved show. The creature's monitor lights up in an intense, threatening color, channeling all its aggro onto a single visual target. Clenching his fists in pure rage, the studio master points right at whoever caused this unforgivable mess. A giant wall of fire wraps around the musical freak, while the host accuses it of destroying the true core of the show. Ignoring the flames eating the victim, the monster rants that top-tier entertainment comes from the show's soul, not disgusting singers. Losing his mind, he declares that peak broadcasting is all about authentic interaction and the shock value of completely wild plot twists. Watching the stage burn, Sol Im realizes his cheap manipulation worked flawlessly, bringing out the TV master's true crazy ego. Completely unfazed by the fire, the entity trashes the network executives, calling them incompetent hacks unworthy of running the show. The TV flashes a giant ruby eye, boldly claiming that he alone has the vision to produce an immortal masterpiece. Bathed in stage light, the host beats his chest with pride, declaring he's the only one who can carry the burden of genius on this stage. The rookie watches in awe as the boss's raw power breaks the local hierarchy, turning a way higher-tier creature to dust. The monster's arm points back at the newbie, letting him know that colossal disaster definitely wasn't on today's call sheet. Still, the entity offers a super genuine thank you, admitting that Little Deer's notes really sparked his creative genius. Doing a graceful bow, the host draws a bright smiley face and promises to send him a VIP pass for the premiere of his next show. A sudden, violent interdimensional jolt launches the surviving squad face first onto the cold floor of Company HQ. Sprawled out on the floor, the young guy focuses on catching his breath, amazed he actually juked the Grim Reaper again. Crying tears of joy, the big partner crushes the rookie in a bear hug, screaming to the world that the kid is a tactical god. The leader locks her eyes on a tiny, shiny artifact in her hands, crying because she finally made it out of that hellhole alive. Wiping her tears, the supervisor gives the recruit a hard look and affectionately calls him an unpredictable hoarder. The golden item floats around the room, shedding a miracle light, acting as physical proof that they just cleared a high-tier catastrophe. Having survived near total incineration, the veteran is shook by the fact that the newbie styled on a broken boss in just his second day on the job. While our hero was recovering from the freaky show, the rest of the corporate drones were living their boring office lives, totally clueless about the terrifying bloodbath. Far away, rookie Go Young looked proudly at her humble score of 66 points, hard-earned in the dark, casually playing with her phone. The girl figured her career progression was tracking perfectly with management's curve. The young woman admitted the bosses here weren't exactly sweethearts, but she felt pretty chill knowing nobody was actively trying to unalive her. A long-haired partner checked the million-point price tag of the golden ticket, sadly realizing it would take years to grind that much currency. Tapping her keyboard, the girl wondered to herself if her old training academy buddies were also dealing with this boring corporate red tape. Missing her old rookie squad, the girl opens her chat app, trying to revive some dead group chats. Her first instinct was to hit up Sol Im and vent about the stress of the anomalies, but a crazy alarm suddenly goes off. The loud notification siren echoes through the office, proving a massive rumor just dropped on the company servers. Yang unfreezes in shock, reading endless texts about how the crazy intern just cleared an unbeatable anomaly in record time. Back from the nightmare, Sol Im chugs a healing potion while the senior mentions the suits are thinking about promoting him to assistant ASAP. However, the leader fires back that HQ blocked the instant promotion due to his lack of history, a move she honestly loves since it keeps him out of worse danger. The game show shoot pushed their limits so hard they almost got wiped, but the supervisor admits that just continuing to breathe is the ultimate W. The recruit grabs his shopping bag, reliving the sheer panic of barely making it, and quietly admits he truly thought it was game over for him in there. Amazed to be breathing, the big guy personally thanks the tactical genius for pulling off the miracle of saving the trio by a single thread. Offering up his loot, the coworker tries to give his own magic rewards to the newbie, but our MC immediately turns down the massive payout, claiming he was totally useless in the mission. The veteran gives all the tactical glory to the wiki guide, but admits he messed up assuming the run would be a breeze. Not holding back, the boss snaps that his excuse sounds like pure senior incompetence and swears she'll reclaim her honor in the next deathmatch. Checking the paperwork on the desk, the kid mutters that he really doesn't want another trip into the dark and asks what official rating the company will give this case. Sadly sipping her coffee, the woman mentions their field boss needed to go flex on the board of directors, a move completely impossible given his temper. The partner uses the chat to beg for a level-up approval, but she shuts it down, claiming she plans to quit long before that happens. The supervisor just completely mutes the guy's whining, and goes back to her coffee in peace after dropping her corporate lecture. With his phone buzzing again, Sol Im alerts everyone that the upstairs meeting is over and their sit down with the big boss is happening now. The rookie remembers the lore of the giant who squashed the ghost pig using nothing but the impact of a basic alkaline battery. Instantly, the heavy sliding door of the room is thrown wide open, grabbing the attention of the entire squad. The big partner shoots up from his seat, snapping into a stiff pose of respect to greet the newcomer, making the rookie freeze. The overpowered boss walks in, giving a soft, polite greeting, while the kid turns to ice, seeing the massive, monstrous reptile face covering the guy's head. In a state of total shock, our hero can't believe the brutal, freaky shape of the suited entity standing right in front of him. Super confused, the kid checks the squad's reaction, seeing that both of them greet the freak completely normally, acting like nothing's weird in the room. Trying to rationalize it, the newbie guesses that the stress and his shattered nerves from the killer TV are just playing tricks on his eyes. But his eyes trace down the guy's massive body and lock onto the official corporate security badge pinned right to the creature's chest. Cold sweat drops down the young guy's forehead as he confirms, without a doubt, that the giant scaly lizard face is 100% real. The base veteran officially introduces his buddy to the leadership, while the newbie seriously questions the mental health of this entire office. Calling the recruit by his official operation codename, the beast locks eyes with Sol Im, radiating an insanely serious and focused aura. The entity stares deep into the tiny employee's eyes, asking in a guttural voice if he detects any anomalies or illusions in the area. Choking under the threat of the direct question, the young guy's brain hits the panic button, fighting desperately not to collapse and start screaming on the floor. Using the smooth talk of pure desperation, the newbie swears he sees the room perfectly fine, dodging the lethal mistake of raising the boss's suspicion. The reptilian's cold, red eye scans every single muscle in the newbie's face, hunting for any trace of panic or cheap lies. But the fake poker face works on the beast, who nods and shuffles away, letting the recruit finally breathe out a massive sigh of relief. Processing the facts, the rookie realizes the rest of the team only sees a normal human face, proving this curse is messing strictly with his own eyes. Hiding his massive shock, our MC promises himself he'll act totally normal around this freak to guarantee his own survival. The lizard walks right through the team and bluntly announces he's going to brief them on all the decisions made about the horrific incident. Getting down to business, the boss explains the horror show had a fatal double booking caused by pure management incompetence. The leader breaks down how the other squad rushed things way too fast, creating a massive pile up in the event's official timeline. Since the other team took a random 50-minute break, the boss sarcastically guesses they must have stopped for a coffee run. Moving to the final report, the company's official docs refuse to upgrade the threat level to maximum, purely because of the high initial success rate. Furious at the injustice, the leader screams that a whole squad got wiped out and points out that the magic loot they collected proved it was high tier. Super chill, the boss states the corporate suits consider the rare loot a fluke and demand hard proof before changing any protocols. Boiling with rage at the system's cheap excuses, the girl threatens to march down to HQ to pick a fight, but the big partner holds her back. Glaring fiercely at the leader, she demands to know if that hellhole is going to stay classed as a basic anomaly, and the guy shoots it down. The lizard promises the corporation decided to drop a special hazard pay bonus to buy the squad's absolute silence about the disaster. Breaking down the extra cash, he confirms this payout will exactly match the bonus of a max difficulty urban legend clear. The set reward guarantees an insane 30,000 points for each survivor, leaving the veterans totally mind blown by the amount. Turning to the newbie, the boss crowns Sol Im as the absolute MVP of the mission, blessing the kid with a grand total of 40,000 points. Hyped about the massive bag falling from the sky, the coworker cheers while the leader jokes that her dream of quitting just got way closer to reality. The woman admits she feels bad about the rule banning point transfers, feeling guilty for profiting off the kid's carry, but he brushes it off. Secretly, the rookie thinks it's awesome not having a max level clear on his resume, knowing a fast promotion would just drop him into way worse legends. In his mind, the risk of making one wrong move in that sadistic underworld is way louder than any corporate glory from selfish bosses. Totally flipping the heavy mood, the partner tells the tactician to go check his balance right on the military base computer. The coworker proudly reminds him they are all crazy enough to risk their lives just to hoard enough wealth to buy a magic ticket. The leader agrees that everyone here has a clear financial goal and asks if the kid has learned how to log his hard-earned loot yet. Super hyped, the big partner points out that virtual balance is basically the only reason they even exist in this place. Our MC logs into the official company portal and throws a silent party when he sees the insane 40,000-point payout sitting right in his account. Staring at the glowing screen, he marvels at the fact that this giant bag goes straight into his pocket with zero cuts from abusive management. The veteran duo watches the newbie's quiet celebration, sharing that sweet feeling of a job incredibly well done. Crashing the awesome virtual party, the reptilian corporate boss clears his throat out of nowhere, grabbing everyone's attention. The boss points out the undeniable fact that they all walked away from a bloodbath in one piece and stuffed their pockets with clean money. The female worker catches the hint instantly and radiates massive hype, suggesting they blow some of that cash at a very special spot. Riding the hype train for a celebration, the whole squad rolls out fast to a super high-end traditional BBQ joint. Taking over the blazing grill, the boss snatches the tongs from Sol Yum, declaring that rookies are banned from cooking at their first team dinner. The boss swears he's not going to exploit the newbie and tells the kid to just chill and eat a ton today, while the boy tries to politely refuse the favor. Chowing down on the meat, the reptilian freak gives the newbie the creeps, making him desperately search for anywhere else to look in peace. Analyzing how normal the chill dinner feels, the tactician sighs in relief, confirming the monster illusion is definitely only messing with his own broken eyes. Downing his cold drink, he admits to himself that the friendly vibe of the dinner is actually super nice after so much insane stress. Watching the meat sizzle and the bottles empty, the rookie realizes the alcohol is doing a solid job of melting away the tension from his crazy day of fighting. He gets a little nostalgic and bummed out, remembering his last few corporate dinners were just him kissing up to lying clients at his old job, enjoying his well-deserved meal in peace. Solemn hears the boss's deep voice cut through his thoughts, calling him by his exotic code name. Chewing a massive, juicy piece of BBQ, the creature asks if the kid has absolutely no plans to burn through his brand new mini fortune. The female coworker jumps into the chat, gossiping that she plans to hoard all her divine loot to snipe a luxury wish ticket soon. Ignoring the super hyper worker's interruption, the shadowy boss and the young rookie lock into a long, silent stare over the feast. Not blinking at the silence, our MC uses the golden opening to ask if the big guy has any solid shopping recommendations. In his quick mind, the newbie feels like he just figured out the cheat codes for this weird lizard, knowing he just needs to pick the exact right dialogue options. Keeping his posture super professional and direct, he asks what would be the best tactical investment for his blood money. The mystery man listens closely and takes a dramatic, silent pause to judge what his new recruit actually needs in the field. With the firm, decisive tone of someone who knows danger, the reptilian decrees that the ultimate long-term play is crafting fully custom gear. Completely caught off guard, Sol Yum admits internally that he never saw this topic coming right here. One of the main gimmicks of the workers in this crazy company is that everyone rocks totally exclusive loadouts. Even if you get dropped straight into a terrifying urban legend, grinding for those famous magic potions is still mandatory for everybody. To keep the squads from getting wiped out before turning a profit, the company hands out exclusive weapons that scale with your rank. Obviously, these tools don't give you broken powers that can nuke the whole map. They just act as a nice little stat buff. Since the gear is purely meant for field survival, the newbie admits he only knows a few confusing bits about how the crafting system works. Walking through the building, the veteran explains that this wing isolates and stores urban legends that are basically safe and highly useful. Pointing to the office radio as a prime example, he details how the company cherry picks functional stories that can literally predict daily luck. Leading the way like it's nothing, the squad leader adds that the official corporate system flags these anomalies as Twilight Tier. The Twilight Tier covers Category E entities that got their own special stamp because they are way more useful or way less lethal than normal threats. The lizard boss chimes in to say these specific dark zones are also used directly in the manufacturing of their dream gear. With his brain running hot, the kid remembers that field teams usually farm exactly 3 different Twilight legends to craft their items. Running through the names, Toy Maker, Seed Kit, and Offering Right, the tactician anxiously wonders which one they'll use. Suddenly, the big guy gets hyped and points ahead, realizing they finally found the guy in charge of access to the restricted sector. Staring at the cold reception desk, the group spots a super sketchy, hooded worker waiting in total silence behind the counter. Taking the lead, the The big partner introduces himself politely and immediately asks for clearance to enter darkness number 989. The creepy clerk doesn't say a single word, just locks his eyes on the monitor and types the data incredibly slowly. In terrifying dead silence, the weird dude just slides a basic metal keycard across the freezing surface of the main desk. Gripping the corporate pass tight, Sol mentally preps himself to bravely face yet another bizarre zone run by the company. The squad rushes down a long, dimly lit hallway that feels like it's leading them straight into the absolute depths of the building. Stopping abruptly in front of a massive steel door, the veteran announces firmly that they've finally reached their destination. Keycard in hand, the newbie unlocks the heavy vault door and hears the sharp click of the security lock opening the dark path. Staring at a machine covered in vines and lights, the kid recognizes the famous seed kit, which clones any object using pure moonlight. The leader smiles, explaining that this department owns the machine, and you just pop 2 normal items inside to let the system roll a brand new weapon. Cutting to the chase, the rookie asks if this mirror crafting costs anything, and the big guy confirms that booting up legends in this wing requires a hefty premium fee. The shock hits the kid's heart like a truck when he finds out he has to cough up an insane 1,000 points just to run one single gacha roll. Furious at the massive paywall, he argues with the lizard boss that the greedy corporation should cover the cost of their tactical gear. Trying to soften the blow, the partner drops the fact that managers get to use the gadget for free, which makes the kid urgently rethink his career goals. The short-haired woman stares at the recruit, asking for his final call, since dropping that much cash at once hurts anyone's wallet. The reptilian boss backs up the crazy gamble with serious conviction in his deep voice, swearing his blind recommendation has a huge reason behind it. The partner argues that trusting the advice of a heavy hitter is the best field strat, which totally convinces the newbie to risk his virtual cash. Accepting the challenge, the kid confirms the transaction and starts running through the basic rules of the machine that sucks up and eats offered relics. The secret manual clearly stated that the glowing hole swallows everything into its stomach and spits out a tool combining the best stats. Because of that, Solyum realizes he needs to pick broken materials that offer massive utility, since he's already memorized the exploration meta. Noticing his coworker hesitating on the strat, the big guy flashes a huge smile, promising the squad loves donating trash to forge a rookie's first defense. Super hyped about the gossip, the big guy nudges the arms-crossed lizard boss, begging the creature to flex his artifact for a bit. Pulling a basic butter knife out of his deep pockets, the beastly man swears the crappy blade can slice through the air and launch things far away. Immediately, the tactician figures out the boss sent that miracle battery using an exact spatial strike, getting annoyed that it's purely a support item. Shifting his bright focus to his 2 curious coworkers, our MC excitedly asks what killer tricks their weapons are hiding. The fearless girl rubs the magic button on her collar, swearing it has 0 combat stats, a reveal that lights a massive genius bulb in his brain. Mentally combining the wonders of his stealthy alien shop, the newbie totally trashes the squad's humble support items and makes a bold play on the spot. Running on pure, reckless instinct, he just thanks them for the bro-tier support and locks his eyes deep into the glowing red screen. The retro digital panel warns that the dark relic is starving, just waiting to mercilessly devour its young master's crazy inventions. Right then, the squad leader raises a hand, ordering the rookie to never throw even a random weed into the hungry hopper if he wants to live to see tomorrow. Even though the doors lock out living things, she angrily mutters that the crazy beast inside the boiling machine causes horrific damage if you mess around. Inspecting the spooky set closely, the rookie suddenly realizes all the flowers decorating the room are literally just plastic fakes. A thick drop of sweat rolls down his forehead as a grim memory from the cursed wiki perfectly clicks in his brain. The logs detailed a bloody massacre where some idiot newbie tossed a weed into the haunted machine, birthing an abomination that roared in the dark. The chaotic summary stated the mess took internal security 7 brutal days to clean up, costing 3 precious lives as the ultimate price. Ignoring the scary ghost threat, the lizard crosses his arms, teaching him how to drop useless junk into the machine, even knowing the fusion could leak. Bravely facing the hidden items slot, the kid secretly admits his mental inventory was already sorting through his entire shopping haul. Luckily for his future W, the hacked manager account funded some seriously OP magic relics perfect for this lethal gamble. Analyzing his absurd stash, he strongly considers the dangerous power of the glowing yellow seal, knowing it would definitely wreck things in a new form. But totally flipping the interdimensional script, The recruit grabs a gorgeous circular silver piece imported from the space market to use as his base plate. The superior reptile sharply questions where the thing actually came from, and Sol Im deflects with an innocent smile, lying that it's just a really lucky charm. Not seeing any red flags, the veteran duo admires the awesome utility and solid shape of the little coin the newbie is holding. With the dragon eye locked onto him, the guy sweats bullets, stressing over the boss's massive intellect being able to bust his huge heist. But instantly swallowing his embarrassing cowardice, the guy figures anyone could find shiny power rocks just wandering around the actual hellish buildings. If he ever gets lithely interrogated in a locked room later, he'll just swear on his life that the jewelry was an incredibly lucky loot drop. Smoothly shifting the red buttons, the rookie tosses his dangerous chips into the magic drawer, engaging all the infernal machinery behind him. Like a gardener linking his soul to a weed, the insane system rips the kid's organic genes and finalizes the long authentication process. The cylinder roars, spinning at ferocious speeds while beams of data scan and permanently merge the grand, invisible legacy of the items. A pure, terrifyingly blinding emerald flash nukes the room, blasting heavy winds right into the shocked recruit's face. With thick toxic smoke tearing out of the overworked exhaust pipes, the big boss politely bows to the new owner of the rich custom gear. Snapping back to his focused army persona, the leader warns him to test his new toys far away, pointing out the cursed vibe of the room they are standing in. But tossing the legend's bitterness aside with a huge sigh and a smile, the woman praises her buddy's miracle clutch and kicks him out of the base for some final rest. Feeling his body instantly turn to jelly just hearing the heavenly word, bed, Sol Im mutters and vanishes to his room without a second thought. Already buried in the untouchable residential peace and quiet of his safe haven, he mentally reviews the stats of the insane fusion he just rolled. His absurd master plan was to grind the blade of the lethal corporate knife into the glowing, alien silver mix bathed in cosmic energy. However, staring in massive disappointment at the product of the smoke resting lightly on his red right palm, he only sees something incredibly useless. His blood boils with pure irrational rage, his brain screaming that the stupid magic gacha just vomited out worthless plastic toys. Watching the silver reflection of the piece with pure murderous suspicion in his narrowed eyes, he chokes down the rage of failing his grand scheme so badly. Trying to salvage control of his own chaotic creation, his tactical logic points out the obvious: throwing stuff around is just begging for raw bad luck. Forcing his ultimate destructive logic down to his heels, Sol Im snaps his thumb, aiming the silver disc straight at the white ceiling. A sharp bang dominates the quiet room, cutting the boredom in half, finally marking the violent impact against the smooth hardwood floor. Focusing on the tiny silver item in his palm, Sol Im tries to figure out what the heck this thing even is. A translucent hand hovers over his cell phone, demanding he insert a coin to make it work. He tests it by tossing a 101 coin, but a system error quickly flashes that the value is no good. Getting the logic, our MC decides to try again using a 501 coin. With a quick flick, the kid launches the new coin straight at the ghost hand. The spectral hand snatches the silver out of the air in a super creepy way, leaving the recruit totally shocked. The guy watches every detail of the interaction, trying to process this crazy magic. Then, the item melts and sinks right into his skin, sending a weird sensation through his entire body. A massive wave of dark energy slithers across the floor, taking the shape of a giant shadowy hand. Flexing his own fingers, the kid watches the ghost projection perfectly mimic his exact moves on the other side of the room. Hyped by the discovery, our hero wonders if this is the true power of his custom loadout. The shadow obeys his muscle commands, basically acting as a literal third hand in the field. Wanting to test how physically precise the thing is, he makes the floating limb pick up a simple pen. Using the mirrored copy, the tactician starts scribbling on a notebook sitting on the desk far away. The handwriting comes out perfectly identical, proving the shadow's strength and dexterity are insanely accurate. Focusing on field tests, he opens doors and pulls caps, confirming the shadow has a reach of exactly 3 meters. The max duration to keep the skill active seems to cap out at just 5 quick seconds. This totally outclasses the lizard boss's knife, since it completely bypasses spatial limits. Not to mention the massive defensive buff of never needing to touch cursed junk with his actual bare hands again. Reviewing his secret loot, the tactician declares that rolling the gacha machine was an absolute W. He pulls the covers up in bed, deciding that paying a tiny coin for literal telekinesis is a super fair trade. Chilling in his dark room, Sol Im realizes his body feels weirdly relaxed and free of chronic pain. The kid credits this to his insane luck of working with partners who didn't panic under heavy pressure. Thinking of the lizard boss makes him grateful for the blind trust of the team that lent him gear right when he needed it. Thinking about his squad at the base, the rookie seriously starts believing he can actually survive all this if he plays it smart. Quietly enduring the monstrous insanity now seems like a way more viable and way less fatal strat. But staring at the glowing building in the distance, he frustratedly admits that calm mindset lasted for exactly 2 seconds. Right in the main office, the blue-haired leader stares at the rookie, looking like she's about to drop some heavy corporate news. The woman announces without beating around the bush that the whole squad's job just got randomly reassigned. Confused, the newbie checks his phone, which is blowing up with panic texts endlessly talking about the relocation. The company portal states that role changes only happen when employees smash their annual profit caps. Shocked, with a shadow covering his face, the kid refuses to accept he got promoted on literally his 3rd day. Right then, an official system alert pops up out of nowhere, detailing the flawless clear of the bloody incident. The highlighted corporate code confirms the brutal, high-profit wipeout of the old Tuesday death show. Hyped up, the cute screen mascot cheers, announcing the absurd amount of wealth the squad farmed from that risky op. Bagging 40,000 points shot the newbie straight to the top of the company leaderboards, exposing him way too much to management. Trying to keep his head on straight, he correctly guesses that this dangerous shift is the direct result of that impossible win. Annoyed by how slow he's processing it, the blue-haired leader squints, asking if the kid even read the terrifying notifications. The tactician chokes back a sob, whispering a question if their OP squad is gonna get split up into different zones. Sipping her coffee slowly, the woman denies the transfer, stating that only their threat level is getting a massive bump. Waving the dry reports, she explains that before, they only had to deal with anomalies that came with perfect guidebooks. But with the squad's recent superstar status, their new daily grind will be wiping out zones where no cheat sheets exist. Desperate about the total lack of intel, the rookie realizes they are going to get tossed into completely unmapped urban legends. The boss grumbles that this is the worst corporate flaw, rewarding good workers by handing them actual death sentences. Kicking the office door wide open, the big lizard boss struts into the room, casually greeting the crew. The veteran glares at the newcomer, furiously demanding to know if sending the team in blind isn't just a straight-up execution order. Sweeting ice with the bomb dropped, the rookie searches his brain for any loophole in the cursed rules that might save them. The lizard boss fires back coldly, arguing that amateurs drop dead even when they have the safest guides in their hands. Triggered by the cruel logic, the woman pushes back, asking if walking in blind doesn't multiply the kill rate by 1,000. Scratching his monstrously thick neck, the boss claims he honestly doesn't see much difference when he solves crises by just punching everything. Cutting through the useless argument about what-ifs, Sol Im fires off his vital question, demanding to know if this comes with a bonus. The veteran coworker blinks in total shock as the reptile officially confirms a massive payload of extra funds. Hearing about the cash payout makes the warrior lock her death stare right onto the suited beast, totally hypnotized. The big guy stammers, trembling as he asks how fat the check is, only to hear the lizard say the payout is absolutely stupid. Breaking down the bloody system, he swears that dark zones spit out up to 15 times more points than the old ones. The kid stares deep into the trio's eyeballs and spots the hungry gleam of uncontrollable, degenerate gamblers. Reviewing his own secrets, however, he realizes this play is actually god tier because he literally has the weakest stored in his own brain. Coins rain through the kid's imagination as he labels this death trap as a solid triple profit venture. Totally seduced by the bag, the crew, led by the lizard, breaks rank and eagerly marches toward their payday. The elevator's digital monitor locks right on the 17th floor, dropping them off front and center at the slaughterhouse. Walking down the hall, the leader narrates that this luxury top floor only houses the absolute elite brains of the company's core engineering. It's in these super, bright safe havens that the eggheads track down all the dark tragedies that haven't been named yet. Led by the heavy reptile, the squad walks through wings painted with pristine, hospital-grade white everywhere. Sol Im notices several people staring at the newcomers and guesses his quiz show W just created his ridiculous new fame. Pulling his anxious hand back, the kid mentally decides that no clean fortune is ever gonna sprout from the dangers of this freaky place. Standing right by the main divider, a sharply dressed guy with glasses flashes a sweet smile at the armed hunters. His thoughts drift to normal exhaustion and lazy nights, not wanting to walk across the rug to kill the lights. A funny mental image of the busy shadow hand clicking a light switch proves that heavenly tools are mostly used for lazy perks. Snapping back from his relaxing daydream, the kid notices the elegant gentleman bowing perfectly to the scaly boss. The tactician checks out the soft-looking guy, wondering if the suit is hiding some lethal power to be in such an elite sector. Pushing up his shiny glasses, the mystery man flashes a beautiful smile right at our observant rookie. He instantly introduces himself as Kwek Ji Gang, the genius commander running the building's top research division. Sol Im clocks the nameplate and analyzes the boss's vibe, feeling like that forced chivalry is buzzing with major red flags. Playing the corporate robot game flawlessly, the hunter bows and immediately catches a sweet compliment from the pleased manager. The grumpy female partner squeezes his forearm, growling super quietly, absolutely hating the fake snobby vibe of this suit. The tactician realizes the jump scare wasn't actually caused by the division manager. He quickly notices the surprise came because another huge corporate bigwig just spawned in the area. Kwek Ji Gang is the famous researcher in charge of writing the starter guides for brand new urban legends. Since the guy has a reputation for being super friendly in the logs, Sol Im decides it's best to just act totally normal. Right then, the big lizard boss announces that the two teams are going to be working together constantly from now on. The rookie gets confused and asks why they need a direct order just to do their jobs. To clear things up, Ji Gang reveals that his sector studies the best tactics to breach completely new scenarios. Using the raw data collected from field exploration, the researchers manage to forge the official survival guides. With that, the newbie connects the dots and realizes his squad is literally the guinea pig that feeds the whole system. Keeping up his super friendly vibe, the scientist officially welcomes the new members to the group. The giant reptile doesn't waste any time, ordering everyone to grab their fear collectors and rid the civilian reports. The veteran coworker uses the opening to whisper at Sol Im to wipe that shocked look off his face ASAP. Turning his head slightly, the kid hears someone randomly calling him out in the middle of the hallway. Chilling in his chair, Ji Gang directly sparks up a chat with the current prodigy rookie. He pulls up a virtual spreadsheet and invites the kid to put real money on a betting pool about the threat level. Shooting the offer down instantly, the guy turns his back and says he's passing on the little game. He argues that the level could be lethal and points out that the lizard boss is completely ignoring how messed up this bet is. Letting out a chill laugh, the suit claims there's a limit to how much respect you need in a corporate setting. The tactician notes the guy has a flawless mask, while the scientist swears nobody is going to get wiped out over a little game. Without dragging it out, the researcher drops a massive folder of documents right onto the desk. The scientist promises that the current anomaly isn't even that bad, since a bunch of civilians managed to escape in one piece. Turns out, the disaster agency was putting heavy pressure on the board to close this case once and for all. Shoving the paper into the rookie's hands, he tells the team to focus entirely on the details of the specific scenario. Ji Gang tries to calm everyone down, swearing the max threat of this place is just mid-tier. But the kid's face locks in pure terror when he reads that the main target involves freaking internet clowns. Sensing the tension, the suit hands over a tablet and tells the newbie to watch a civilian video log. The screen shows a guy in clown makeup swaying his body in a super freaky way in the pitch black. Suddenly, the figure cracks a grotesque, terrifying smile, flashing rows of razor-sharp teeth. The footage glitches violently, showing the creature shrieking with a sick, blood-soaked laugh. The rookie jumps, terrified, imagining monstrous hands grabbing his shoulders violently out of nowhere. The shock of the video makes the newbie absolutely certain he knows exactly where this legend comes from. Pure panic hijacks the kid's body instantly, catching the eye of the researcher in the room. In a full-blown panic attack, the boy screams, "Excuse me," and books it, while the scientist laughs and wishes him a good trip. Sweating cold down the base corridors, the tactician mentally begs them to cancel this triple-point event. Staring at the mental image of the killer clown, he swears to himself he is never setting foot in that hellhole. But unavoidable fate drags the team straight to the dreaded anomaly where the monster absolutely hates visitors. Already inside the official urban legend, our MC wears a sleep mask to protect his vision at spawn. Super carefully, he cracks one eye open from under the fabric to check the vibe of the room. The squad is walking down an endless hallway totally packed with freaky paintings on the dark walls. Checking out the art, Sol Im notices the faces aren't just wearing basic circus makeup. Actually, the paintings show real people with their bones and muscles brutally twisted to look like clown faces. Just standing in this place makes the expressions in the frames get more and more distorted and grotesque over time. All the missing civilians end up as bloody wall decor, which is already enough material for a full horror movie. The kid remembers he almost had a heart attack just from the entry method, and bets anyone would be crying in fear here. But the squad leader strolls through super chill, commenting that the place is well lit and doesn't seem that dangerous. Trying to find the logic, the rookie asks if the pause is to let their eyes adjust, and the lizard confirms a 60-second wait. The tactician has no clue how the boss can order everyone to stay blind in a cursed hallway where literally anything could spawn. Demanding obedience, the partner tells the kid to shut his eyes already, proving the whole team is totally on board with this madness. This absurd level of chill makes Sol Im realize his squad mates literally don't feel fear at all. They are the exact type of psychos who think horror movies are boring and only get an adrenaline rush from actual death threats. The leader keeps casually reading the manual, while the newbie trembles, knowing nobody would stay sane if those paintings started moving. Not caring about the creepy vibe, the lizard casually mentions some survivors escape by jumping through empty frames. The kid remembers that stabbing the canvases makes the monsters pop out to hunt, and promises to run if anything jumps at him. Planning the strat, the boss suggests trying attacks every hour, confident they can just kill the freaks if they crawl out slow enough. Suddenly, the partner points super excitedly at one specific painting, claiming it looks exactly like a legit movie poster. Swallowing his exploration anxiety, the newbie opens his eyes super slowly to check out what his coworker spotted. The frame shows a pale, threatening face with glowing eyes that stare right into the soul of anyone walking by. The visual perfectly matches the description of the missing civilians, confirming the gruesome fate of the poor victims. Playing with fire, the woman asks if her coworker wants the honor of poking the abomination first. Dead serious, Sol Yum raises his hand asking for 1 second of peace and announces he just cooked up the ultimate escape plan. The sudden declaration catches the veteran duo completely off guard in the middle of that dark, lethal hallway. The boy knows the run just started, but the only way a coward survives here is by speedrunning the whole thing. Holding a shiny coin in his hand, the grand tactician kicks off the escape plan at max velocity. With a cocky smirk on his face, he flicks the tiny metal object straight up into the air. The silver coin spins and floats under the creepy lighting of the cursed zone. Right after the toss, a spectral white glove spawns out of nowhere, hovering right in front of the shocked squad. The blue-haired boss asks if that's his custom gear, and the kid nods, saying he's gonna cash in some favors later. Probing the magic's power, the ghost projection violently clenches its fingers into a solid fist. The shadow rapid fires devastating punches into the painting, looking like a goofy spam donation on an internet live stream. The rookie controls the beatdown while calmly clapping from a distance, acting like he's watching a funny Twitch stream. Satisfied with the initial damage, he finally explains to his partners that this floating limb is the hidden power of his weapon. The activation requirement is just paying a tiny coin to get full remote control over it. The newbie swears that this violent, precise fist is the exact missing puzzle piece needed to clear this horror story. Breaking down the legend, he figured out that the furious monsters attacking invaders are just punishments for picking the wrong choices. To win for real Sol, Im tells the squad to run and hunt for the one correct painting he describes as soon as he gives the signal. The scientist begs the big boss for his attention with absolute urgency. Being super understanding with the rookies, the massive lizard agrees to the request and backs the idea. With that, G-Gang steps back, stretching his body, and claims following the kid won't cause any issues. The rookie mentally complains about the situation, figuring they wouldn't even need to run this much. Since he considers himself a massive coward, he knows he'd never have the guts to try fighting the monster face to face. Focused on just staying alive, the tactician declares that a fast escape is the only real option they have. The system clocks almost 5 minutes into the mission, while the big screen announces the brutal start of the speedrun. Far away, the assistant's voice breaks the silence, asking what the threat tier will be this time. G-Gang casually evaluates the situation and bets the Legends category will stay exactly where it always is. The assistant agrees with the bet, getting a warning not to blab about this gambling pool to the other teams. Annoyed, Lee grumbles internally about his boss's talent for ruining the mood with that forced friendliness. But the employee admits the real reason he's so pissed off is actually that arrogant newbie. Sol Yum's absolute audacity to talk back to the boss still had the assistant boiling with rage. Fueled by pure hate, Lee types anonymously in the betting group chat, actively praying the kid gets wiped out in there. Cutting through the venom, G-Gang demands the final report before the shift ends, making his coworker sigh from pure exhaustion. Checking the wall clock, he boredly assumes the squad isn't getting out of there anytime soon. The system pulls up the profiles of the victims who watched the cursed clown video online. Scanning the data, the assistant admits a few lucky ones actually managed to make it out of there breathing. Official logs showed the escape route involved jumping through one very specific empty frame. The problem was, the total lack of patterns in the survivor statements made it impossible to figure out exactly which painting was the exit. The only strat was waking up the violent creatures with brute force, while trying not to get mashed into a pulp. Lee has a good laugh picturing the squad running in circles in pure panic, guaranteeing someone is gonna meet their maker. Waiting for the worst, the guy chills in his chair until the Max clear. Alert literally explodes on his screen. The jump scare from the random alert makes the assistant bug his eyes out in absolute disbelief. The entire base goes into full-blown shock, trying to process what the heck just happened. The timer shows hardly any time passed, proving the lethal threat was wiped out in a pathetic 26 minutes. Super hyped about the record time, G-Gang asks if the giant lizard just solved everything with raw bunga strength again. The blue-haired leader denies it, pointing out that the team's rookie was the absolute MVP behind the W. The tactician walks up right behind her, adjusting his tie after surviving yet another corporate hellhole. Mind blown by the kid, the scientist asks how a fresh recruit pulled off something this impossible. Facing the curious bosses, the newbie breaks down the crucial details he spotted in the zone. Keeping his cool, the tactician takes on the challenge of perfectly explaining the anomaly's hidden mechanics. The kid starts by reminding them the cursed video was titled, "The Pirate Hates You." That tiny difference was the master key to the whole puzzle, since translations usually mix up the terms in their language. While normal clowns rock bright neon colors and do goofy flips to make the crowd laugh, a Pierrot follows the depressing French style, wearing black and white makeup with a super sad face. Knowing the title of the zone, logic dictated that the real target would never be the colorful monster chasing them. To prove his theory, the newbie searched everywhere for a painting that had those exact monochrome vibes. Avoiding direct contact, he used his secret skill to tap the frame from a totally safe distance. The second he did, the dark creature instantly vaporized, unlocking the escape route demanded by the lethal mission. Wrapping up his detailed breakdown, the guy swears the whole mystery was literally just that simple. The suit listens in awe as he realizes the kid cracked the puzzle perfectly on his very first run. Suddenly, the researcher holds up a finger, noticing one massive detail got left out of that story. The scientist demands to know how the kid managed to see the colors in the pitch black, since turning on lights aggroes the freaks. Sweating cold from anxiety, the rookie scrambles to invent an excuse while feeling the crushing aura of the lizard boss. Fast talking, Sol lies that he managed to piece together a makeshift guide by skimming the veteran coworker's notebook. Flipping through the scribbled notes, the researcher confirms the prodigy solved the riddle using only raw starter data. Super tense, Assistant Lee hears that the kid's genius just forwarded months of corporate red tape at the base. That level of brutal efficiency makes absolutely zero sense to the guys who study these anomalies for a living. Lee glares heavily at the newbie, seriously wondering if this kid is actually a monster wearing a human skin suit. Breaking the tension, the big guy mentions that the piece of fabric they brought back from the mission looked a little weird. Carefully holding the white cloth, the tactician inspects the mysterious details of the recovered loot. A fresh memory reveals that the lizard boss literally just smashed the clown into the floor when the freak tried to run away. Trembling with fear, the assistant bitterly concludes that the boss and the newbie make an absolutely uncontrollable duo of beasts. Watching the squad's dynamic up close, the researcher also starts getting suspicious about where all that crazy strength comes from. Ignoring the heavy vibe, G-Gang holds out his hand and asks if the miracle rookie has received any business cards out there yet. The kid plays dumb, answering that his low rank doesn't score him those kinds of corporate perks yet. Flashing a sharp smile, the suit praises the little act and directly demands the secret flyer the kid hid away. A quick click in the base's system opens classified files investigating the sketchy pharmaceutical company. The intel shows this corp sells miracle pills that claim to reverse any kind of hair loss. The bizarre ad blasted on the big screen swears they have the ultimate cure for any health issue. Their flashy slogan declares they are the supreme magic corporation dedicated to creating medical miracles. Two smiling foxes wrap up the Daydream commercial, inviting everyone to come work for the massive company. Holding the mic, the stage host demands the attention of all the survivors gathered in the room. The exhausted crowd listens to the suit scream that they are all the grand champions of the ruthless selection process. Hearing that familiar brand name again, Sol Im tries to dig through his memory to remember where he crossed paths with this insane company before. The dark promise stated the company could manufacture any substance the human mind could possibly desire. The stage speech keeps buttering up the rookies for surviving the brutal filter meant for new HQ hires. With tons of hype, the speaker congratulates the group and announces their direct transfer to the field squad. The big screen flashes the team's cursed crest, confirming they've been drafted by force into the absolute worst department in the base. Totally lost, a coworker next to him whispers that he never imagined a pharma company dealt with urban legends. The tactician bitterly concludes that this sick system literally uses the risk of real death as a basic job interview. Flat out refusing this cruel fate, the guy sprints down the aisle, ready to ditch this whole nightmare for good. But a spotlight blocks his path while the man on stage mentions the quick probationary period. Glaring at the trapped crowd, the shadow on stage decrees that the lethal exam will test every single person's professional skills right there. The suited host happily claims that everyone's active participation is totally mandatory for this process to work. Snapping his fingers with absolute confidence, he decrees the team will hunt down and eliminate any freeloaders trying to skate by. Just like that, the lights cut out completely, leaving the candidates confused in the dark, wondering if this is just a new presentation. But a sudden flash floods the room, spooking the group who has no clue what just happened to the auditorium. A freaky announcement blasts over the speakers, thanking passengers for riding the Abyss transit system to their final destination. Staring at the digital sign in the train car, some civilians think they're in a subway and wonder if this is some crazy VR experience. Clueless about the set change, the crowd murmurs, trying to figure out if the room moved, and complains that the doors just won't open. Still searching for normal logic, they wonder if they fell into an immersive escape room, or if the company is testing new tech on them. Watching the chaos, Sol Im knows perfectly well this bizarre situation has absolutely nothing to do with modern tech. And it's definitely not a simple escape game, though the tactician admits nobody here could have predicted this level of insanity. He remembers the company's crazy recruitment ad promising miracles and wonders how a job hunt turned into this disaster. This cursed job opening dragged the kids straight into the company's dreaded field exploration department. The ID badge swinging from the guy's neck is official proof of his lethal connection to the corporate exploration team. Just then, his phone buzzes, warning him that the dreaded mortal survival game has officially started at the stop known as Sadness Station. Taking a step forward in the dark train car, the newbie locks all his focus on the imminent danger that just spawned around him. Staring at the gloomy environment, our MC realizes in absolute terror that he just literally fell inside an urban legend. The bizarre system welcomes him while he tries to remember the heavy exhaustion of his last commute home. Back then, the kid just wanted to get to his apartment so he could finally crash and finish doing his laundry. Because of his brutal daily grind, he ended up nodding off on the bench and woke up in a panic, totally confused. It looked like the guy was still sitting inside a normal subway car, lit up by standard white fluorescent lights. Looking around, the ride seemed like any regular commute, but he quickly started questioning where the heck he actually was. The tactician's sharp instincts were screaming like crazy, warning him something was horribly wrong with this train. The unsettling silence and weird glitches proved the scenario was actually a perfectly laid lethal trap. Analyzing corporate coldness, Sol Im figures out the company uses this legend to violently weed out new hires. Soon, the digital signs start flashing like crazy, confirming their bizarre arrival at Sadness Station. The automated voice orders passengers to disembark immediately, and the massive safety doors start sliding open. The warning echoes through the car, stating the train will lock down in 30 seconds with zero chance of coming back. Freezing fog rolls over the platform, revealing a dark sign with the macabre name of their mandatory stop. Ignoring the invisible danger, the crowd notices the place looks pretty normal and suggests everyone get out of there fast. Listening to the group rushing to escape before the doors lock, the rookie just curses the annoying situation. An eager guy steps up, swearing the place looks super chill despite the really weird name. Suddenly, Sol Im steps in front of him, gripping the door frame hard to warn them it's way safer to stay on the train. Keeping a straight face, the kid asks where in the country you'd ever find a train stop called Sadness. The guy in the suit gets pissed at the interruption and demands to know if the kid is going to take the blame if they get stuck in here. Trying to defuse the pointless argument, another candidate backs up the newbie, suggesting they scope out the zone a little longer. Immediately, the train's PA system blasts a piercing alarm, warning that the main lockdown has initiated. Panic hits the rushed guy, who screams for everyone to run off the train before the exit vanishes completely. Tripping hard on his way out, the dude almost faceplants onto the freezing floor trying to save his own skin. A small chunk of the group manages to cross the barrier, feeling massive relief that they escaped the locked train. But a shocked young guy leans against the clear glass, frustrated and whining that he wasn't fast enough to make it out. Watching the guy stuck inside with him, the tactician blames pure stupidity for that completely unnecessary delay. Deep down, our MC completely understands that panic blinds people, making them run without thinking for a second. The glowing red timer interrupts the kid's thoughts, brutally slamming down to 0. Out on the platform, the cowardly man nervously asks if the newbies who stayed inside are gonna be okay. The arrogant coworker mocks the situation, claiming it was their choice to stay, and now they can cry about it on the train. Finishing his mean joke, the guy laughs right up until he feels a weird, thick drop of slime hit the top of his head. Totally confused by the random grossness, the man looks up trying to figure out where that trash came from. A brutal blast of thick blood drops from the dark ceiling, drenching the suited man in absolute terror. The candidate bugs his eyes out, covered in red, screaming frantically to figure out what lethal garbage that is. Running for his life, he screams that the station ceiling is melting slime right on top of them. But a crushing waterfall of blood floods the platform, drowning the man as he begs for help into the void. The instant slaughter swallows all the escapees outside in a giant puddle of violence and pure despair. Protected by the glass doors, Sol Im watches the bloody massacre with a blank, intensely focused stare. That unprovoked bloodbath proved beyond a shadow of a doubt how ruthlessly lethal the corporate base's world really is. With bloody hands slapping against the glass, a tragic fate sealed the brutal end for anyone who made that rash choice. Scarlet light fills the train car, exposing the survivors' panic and marking the true start of this deadly test. The metal train slowly starts moving again, leaving the platform soaked in remains far behind in the dark. The official Daydream Company system runs all the hidden zones strictly classified as the darkness. Translated to the real world, this dark title directly refers to the urban legends that literally eat innocent civilians. And to maintain absolute control over the fear, the company just ships its employees straight into these stories. The vehicle picks up speed on the dark tracks, confirming that the employee screening always goes down here. Under this brutal survival format forced by the company, the other candidates completely break down sobbing. Honestly, Sol Im admits he's got a massive tactical edge over all these terrified rookies in the train car. After all, knowing the legends inside and out would let him exploit valuable resources just like a broken manga MC. Owning the company using meta knowledge sounded amazing in theory, but the kid admits there's one fatal flaw. Squeezing his own hands super tight, he faces the harsh reality of his biggest, most critical weakness. The truth is, the newbie is absolutely terrified of the dark and can never, ever look straight at scary creatures in real life. His obsession with macabre stories was strictly limited to reading pure text and wiki articles online. Any illustration that was even slightly disturbing was more than enough to make the wimp pass out from pure shock. He always avoided clicking on haunted videos, just because of the freaky thumbnails that would jump scare him on the monitor. No matter how much a story demanded visual immersion, our MC preferred to apologize and just accept his cowardice. Ironically, the absurd encyclopedia of knowledge he carried in his head came entirely from letters thrown on a dark background. Even his buddies roasted him in group chats, reminding him of the time he ghosted a girl just to avoid watching a horror movie. And now this exact same admitted wimp was officially drafted to work in the company's dreaded Suicide Squad. Staring at the last 8 living passengers in the hellish train car, the guy bitterly concludes he is completely screwed. The train sign announces the arrival at Hate Station, doors opening on the right. Thrown to the floor, our MC just groans at this new infernal stop. A guy soaked in blood bangs on the door glass, begging to just be taken out already. Staring at the horrific scene, the kid freezes, totally unable to process the bizarre situation unfolding right in front of him. Right then, a mysterious notebook drops to the floor with a sharp snap. The cover announces a first-place prize for a box of real items. Reading that weird title, Sol Im tries to mentally process what the heck this special box could be. The guy notices the other passengers are completely ignoring the object and guesses the item is invisible to everyone else. At the back of the car, tension stays high as the survivors try to help each other out after the shocking massacre on the platform. Keeping it super stealthy, He decides to snag the notebook on the down low without drawing unwanted attention from the terrified crowd. Soon, a round black button with a big yellow X spawns in front of him and gets pressed fast. Holding the tiny metal accessory in his palm, the rookie wonders what kind of junk this is. Inspecting the item super carefully, he is absolutely certain this is the exact same official merch he bought a while back. The digital clock in the guy's mind starts rewinding rapidly, showing time rolling backward through space. A clear memory from a few hours ago pops up, showing a very unfriendly reception desk completely stained with dark blood. Two young people stare in shock at a creepy sign, giving a terrifying welcome to the explorers of the darkness. They are standing in a horror-themed pop-up store where a girl is laughing at the massive jump scare her annoyed friend just got. The whole thing started when the guy visited the official pop-up shop for his favorite horror game, wearing a heavy hoodie. The game's universe is entirely focused on investigating the famous and terrifying supernatural events known as the Darkness. Acting like a total hardcore fan of the franchise, he loaded his shopping basket with a ton of exclusive event merch. At the register, he took the big bag the cashier handed him while hearing people whisper if he was a scalper. Dying of embarrassment, the guy pulls his hood down, grumbling to himself that he burned his annual vacation days just to hoard all this for himself. The worst part of his corporate addiction is that he already clocked in at this exact little shop last week without anyone knowing. Only the Lucky Roulette event remained untouched, purely because he was too embarrassed to play a game like a grown man in front of everyone. But a super hyped employee told him it was the final day of the promo and finally convinced him to test his luck on the game. Taking the L to his shopping addiction, he agrees to play and follows the cashier, silently thanking him for the push. The massive digital raffle board lights up in front of him, ready to kick off the grand lucky game of the Doomsday Prophecy. The hype man explains he just needs to hit the red stop button whenever he wants to instantly lock in his prize tier. Not expecting much, our MC smacks the button, convinced he's just taking home some basic participation trophy. Planning to walk away with a measly notepad, the roulette spins like crazy and locks perfectly on the tiny golden slice for first place. The absolute shock is so real he just freezes, staring at the machine, unable to believe the miracle he just pulled. A confetti shower and loud clapping take over the store, congratulating the super rare grand winner of the main round. The hyped-up cashier hands over the luxurious black prize box, while the ecstatic fan can barely process his own insane luck. They ask for the winner's name to print some exclusive, custom merch right there at the pop-up store counter. Enjoying the corporate freebie, he hands over his info, politely telling them his name is Kim Sol Im. The retro digital panel loads the option to create a custom character right inside that cursed horror universe. The machine spits out a brand new official employee ID badge for the field exploration team of the dreaded, filthy rich Daydream Corporation. Amazed by the result, the hype man flexes that the drawn faction is literally one of the 3 most famous in the game's history. The boy nods, tired, knowing full well this is the classic trope of the greedy megacorp profiting off lethal urban legends. This is the exact poor squad that gets mercilessly wiped out every time they try to investigate real dangers, existing only to set up dramatic heroes. Politely thanking the kiss-up employee for wishing him success, the rookie promises himself he'll hide that piece of junk forever. Walking home alone on the empty city streets, he curses the cashier for being a liar and wishing such a terrible fate on him. Suddenly, a terrifying dark shadow swallows everything, violently and silently killing all the streetlights. The thick darkness ate his vision in a flash, plunging his instincts into a literal, distorted claustrophobic nightmare. Snapping out of the chaotic flashback, Sol Im presses the shiny little accessory, revealing that's exactly how he woke up lost inside this train car. The magic system chimes in that the button is a low-tier item that manifests the user's memories into text straight onto their phone. Checking the back of his device, he confirms with relief that the relic works perfectly for reading his own recorded thoughts. Staring at the glowing screen, the guy watches in awe as the digital file of the dark legend magically materializes on his phone's dark display. The doc breaks down the exact specs of the Abyss Transit Anomaly, proving his broken memory just turned into a legit tactical guide. Super relieved by the find, he realizes that all his massive lore knowledge of this dark universe finally surfaced to save his skin. Since the game is a colossal collection of cruel stories, remembering every single survival route off the top of his head would be totally impossible. With an intense laser-focused stare, our MC realizes this newly minted app is his one and only ticket out of here alive. Pressing hard on the glass screen, The grand tactician decides it's go time to find the absolute perfect escape plan for this base. The digital file scrolls fast, showing a massive color-coded log of every past survival case for this transit anomaly. Swiping his sweaty thumb across the screen, he reads every detail carefully, desperate to find the right escape pattern for tonight. The speed reading finally clicks in his brain, and the rookie whispers in satisfaction that he totally gets the rules of this zone now. Staring closely at the train's LED sign, he confirms the safest route requires them to disembark exactly at the dreaded hate station. The huge problem with holding the vital answer is the brutal communication barrier with the rest of the terrified group on the bench. Annoyed by the dangerous lack of cell service, the guy grumbles that he has no way to prove he's right by just pulling up the internet. Watching the duo of passengers shaking in fear in the back, he calculates how he's going to convince these people to step off at a lethal stop. The risky strat requires gathering as many survivors as possible to pull off a massive group jump into the dark all at once. Shoving any fake hero complex aside, the boy bluntly admits he's not doing this out of pity. It's pure self-preservation instinct taking the wheel. Justifying his apparent coldness, he confesses he actually feels bad for these folks. But the cruel urgency of the corporate mission is way louder. The harsh reality hits like a truck. He physically doesn't have the stats to fight the platform monsters totally solo. The mental game manual warns about macabre stops where the floor is carpeted with creepy eyeballs staring at the blood of unlucky invaders. The lore mentions upside down zones drowned in pitch black where the chance of passing out from pure terror breaks 90%. Being an admitted mega coward, the tactician knows full well that blacking out from fear halfway through is a guaranteed game over here. Putting the clear pieces of his own weakness together, the boy gets up from his seat, determined to drag the whole crying car out the exit with him. Taking his first careful step, he figures spitting facts about supernatural legends right away will just make him look like a total psycho. The initial tactical idea focuses on earning the group's basic trust before pitching any highly dangerous escape into the darkness outside. Using the cheap psychology of mob mentality to his advantage, his genius plan is to win over the influential folks, so the rest just follow the herd. Casually sizing up the desperate passengers around him, he hunts for any emotionally fragile target who needs a friendly word right now. But a sudden sentence echoes through the metal car, slipping out of one of the victims and completely shattering the tactician's cold, logical train of thought. Totally blown away by how casually it was said, he turns around, unable to believe someone just referenced internet horror channels in real life. A young girl with short hair cries in relief, gripping her phone while panting that she finally found exactly what she was searching for in the dark. Rushing the girl with a quick jolt, Sol Im sits right next to her, demanding some serious, straight answers about this supposed haunted story. Intimidated by the intense interrogation, the passenger stutters, explaining that this whole setup feels just like the creepy videos she binges online. The girl terrifiedly recounts a story about a classroom that randomly transformed into a subway. Then, she describes the horrific scene of people literally melting in the middle of that nightmare. With a shaking voice, the young woman concludes that everyone ended up getting brutally wiped out. Sol Yum quickly apologizes for acting so weird and tries to pull himself together in his seat. Frustrated, the guy silently admits his brain is frying with so much crazy stuff happening around him. Watching his coworker sitting next to him, he notices a major detail about how she's acting. The newbie realizes the girl kept her cool and didn't pass out from terror like the rest of the civilians here. Taking advantage of the opening, he tries to strike up a chat with the girl to ask for backup on the mission. But a suited guy walks up, asking if the girl was sitting next to him before the chaos started. Cut off out of nowhere, our MC just turns his head, staring at the newcomer like he's an alien. The tactician's sharp eyes lock onto the corporate ID badge hanging from the mystery dude's neck. With a cocky smile, the man casually introduces himself as Baek Sahyun. Sol Im turns to ice the second he hears the name of his train car buddy. Quickly checking his digital file, he confirms the guy is an official, named employee in the company's logs. Staring at the dude, the rookie realizes in pure shock that he's face to face with the infamous hunter known as Viper. The girl takes the lead and suggests they at least introduce themselves, revealing her name is Go Yeong-un. Analyzing her name, the rookie guesses that employees like her usually get eliminated fast or quit the company super early. He remembers that living legends usually use code names, but their defining traits always give away who they really are. Keeping up the professional vibe, the kid straightens his tie and finally drops his name to the duo. While they chatted, The tactician noticed the group of passengers had scattered throughout the spooky train. The guy sees some folks trying to communicate with the civilians trapped in the car ahead. Yang-un points out the legend bands moving between cabins, which makes Sol-im agree their attempt is gonna fail miserably. Suddenly, the digital signs light up, announcing their immediate arrival at Ecstasy Station. The young woman hopefully asks if the word "ecstasy" implies a good, safe vibe for them. Without a single stutter, our MC shatters her illusion, bluntly saying, "Nope." In his head, he knows perfectly well that judging stops just by their happy names is a fatal mistake. The logs prove that the Legend's naming system changed themes every time someone explored the lethal zone. To get out of here, the only real way is to focus purely on the survival stats of past runs. The manual showed that color-based stops guaranteed a flawless escape for 2 people at Blue Station. However, body-part themes always ended in brutal massacres with 0 survivors, and themes using specific years also resulted in absolute failures and horrific game overs. Ironically, the serial killer theme had the best track record, with 12 totally successful rescues. With all that, the boy concludes that a name's positive energy has absolutely 0 connection to the area's survival rate. Looking through the glass, the girl mentions the place looks super clean and safe enough for a quick getaway. A desperate scream echoes through the car, testing the rookie's psychological limits amidst all this madness. A crying woman grabs the tactician's suit, begging him to somehow help her make it out alive. Terrified, she asks if the guy is absolutely sure it's safe to step onto the glowing platform. Totally confused by the random demand, Sol-im has no clue where she got that idea of protection from, trying to inject some logic into the chaos. The newbie argues anyone can see they're trapped in a haunted scenario. Yang-un jumps in, stating that acting on blind instinct never ends well in this kind of horror story. Annoyed by the drama, the scared suit grumbles, telling everyone to drop the theories and just walk already. Maintaining absolute ice, cold chill, our MC asks if the guy thinks they're in a video game where hints just magically fall from the sky. Raising a finger like a boss, the rookie announces that there is actually a massive, glaring clue right there. The kid points up, drawing everyone's attention to the automated voice of the train conductor. He reminds them that the system's very first message asked for full attention to the warnings to ensure a comfy trip through the dark. Breaking it down like a teacher, he explains that the golden rule from the jump was to focus exclusively on the machine's audio cues. The lit up sign stated that only passengers whose final destination was ecstasy should rush out here. Glaring at the shaking group, Sol-im coldly asks if anyone's actual life goal is literally this specific place. The suited guy stammers, making up a lie that living in ecstasy is totally the grand purpose of his life. The terrified woman fires back, demanding to know if the guy is going to take the blame if the escape goes completely south. Blended by the insane rush to get out, the passenger thumps his chest, swearing he'll take on all the divine consequences. Immediately, the sound system announces the imminent lockdown of the main platform doors. Ignoring any hidden danger, the man sprints full speed, shoving people aside to cross the threshold in time. Through the dirty glass, the rookie notices the civilians in the front car also fell for the sadistic trap and ran out. Watching the pure stupidity, the tactician deeply regrets not wanting to face the harsh reality of the corporation. He takes a deep breath, mentally prepping for the inevitable horror show about to go down on the other side of the glass. The second the passenger's shoe hits the freezing floor, a bizarre energy turns his leg into pure, solid gold. The man lets out a deafening scream of pure agony as his entire body starts melting down violently. Bathed in boiling golden liquid, the guy melts down, totally begging for help in the middle of the chaos. Completely consumed by the curse, he cries for salvation while sinking into his own glowing, highly lethal puddle. In a matter of painful seconds, the victim is brutally reduced to a melted puddle of glowing gold. The passenger's twisted face reflects his eternal torment, permanently engraved in the shiny metal staining the platform floor. With zero mercy, the transport speeds off, leaving the entire cursed station behind in the shadows. The survivors in the car watch in shock at the absurd carnage that just happened right in front of them. The girl cries, remembering how the arrogant man promised to take full responsibility for the botched escape. Gripping the tactician's suit tight, she begs through tears for a promise that he'll find a safe zone. Trying to hide his own violently shaking legs, the kid just coldly confirms he'll get her out of there. Admiring the newbie's massive cool factor, the hunter viper cracks a huge grin, praising the kid's impressive attitude. The disguised veteran mentions that people with that much confidence are rare and hopes the promise actually pays out in gold. Using his silver tongue, Sol-im flips the pressure, asking if the quiet coworker already has a stop in mind to bail at. Faking pure innocence, Sehien shrugs, claiming he doesn't know the first thing about this weird underworld. Knowing the mysterious guy's monstrous track record, the rookie decides to keep a very close eye on the hunter. The panel warns of an upcoming curved section with heavy turbulence and orders all passengers to take a seat immediately. Looking through the glass, the group spots a brawl breaking out in the front car and panics, not knowing what to do next, screaming for everyone to hit the floor now. Sol Im watches the turbulence shred the standing civilians into a pure red mess. In full panic mode, a young guy cries while hugging the bench, stammering that the tragedy happened exactly like the warning said. The company's sound system echoes through the car, informing everyone that a lost item is on board. The voice tells whoever finds the object to get off at the next stop, and Sol Im figures this is an escape route. The announcement continues, detailing that the lost item belongs to a man in his 20s. In a macabre twist, the machine reveals that the sought-after item is literally that passenger's left eye. The AI repeats the requirement for type of blood and orders the person to hand the eye over to an employee. Listening to all this, the tactician focuses on the fact that this option is a totally safe, free pass out of there. But the huge catch of the legend is that only one single person has a real shot at making it out alive using this strat. Some passengers go into shock, muttering about how insane it is to rip out a young guy's left eye on a train. As a veteran hunter, Sehien weighs the crazy request and wonders if he should just ignore the warning since they can all escape at the end anyway. The veteran realizes a solo escape would cause fights, while a cowardly man suggests they just ID the target right now. A witch hunt kicks off with the guy interrogating everyone about their ages, finding out his buddy has type B blood. The interrogation reaches the rookie, and he lies straight to his face, claiming his blood type is AB to dodge the crosshairs. Suddenly, another passenger raises his hand and confesses he's the target, figuring there's no harm in outing himself. The man brags, confirming he perfectly meets every single lethal requirement of that macabre announcement. The guy stands his ground, fully believing that his confession won't bring any real danger to his life. The machine kills the mood by announcing the arrival at Hate Station, while Sehien locks his dark stare on the target. The hunter calmly walks up to the passenger and asks in a friendly tone if he really has the required blood type. The automated voice warns the doors are opening, and tension floods the dark train car. Wasting no time, the veteran completely drops his friendly face and goes on the offensive against the innocent guy. Moving lightning fast, Sehien mocks the kid's bad luck and ruthlessly attacks him in the middle of the car. The hunter's violent strike rips the man's left eye right out in a brutal spray of blood and pure agony. Totally in shock, the civilians watch the mutilation, unable to process the cruelty of that random attack. The bloody item is successfully snatched, and the passenger collapses to the floor in absolute agony. Clutching the gross prize, Sehien forces his way out and jumps onto the freezing platform without a single drop of remorse. The crowd panics, screaming in terror as they watch the man thrashing and bleeding non-stop on the floor. Watching the escape, Sol Im doesn't get why the hunter just ran, since the manual explicitly said to hand over the eye. The rookie duo freezes, noticing the monstrous loophole in the rules of this sick survival game. The tactician remembers the warning told whoever found the item to get off, not the actual owner of the object. Watching the hunter outside, our MC concludes that relying on anyone's empathy in here is just pure stupidity. Pointing at the platform, the coworker freaks out over the cruel act, while the boy figures out the hunter's trick. The tactician admits the scary title Viper wasn't just handed to him by corporate management for nothing. He thought the guy was just a polite newbie, but the true sadistic nature described in the logs just popped out. The doors close, and the kid guesses the hunter offered his own eye and blinded the civilian just to eliminate the competition. Evaluating the brutality, Sol Im concludes the veteran went overboard and all that bloodshed was totally unnecessary. A passenger mutters while searching the floor, pointing out that a lost item should literally be something dropped on the ground. The rookie theorizes the rule actually requires finding someone else's object, never using your own body parts as payment. Focusing on the scene, he grips a hidden vial, knowing the legend strictly plays by the literal meaning of words. The subway warning echoes again, letting them know the special employee is already en route to pick up the package. Through the foggy glass, a massive, freaky figure appears, slowly walking through the dark station. The machine thanks the humans for cooperating, and our MC bugs his eyes out at the monster outside. The creature violently snatches the hunter off the floor, and the system confirms the eye transfer to the employee is complete. Sahin's agonizing screams echo loudly, and the terrified group doesn't feel an ounce of pity for the selfish guy's fate. Sol Im feels bad for the injured civilian's face and asks if Yong Un has any advanced medical training. The young woman admits she dropped out of med school and calls herself a fraud, but he praises her for even getting into the tough program. The AI announces they are approaching Hate Station, drawing everyone's eyes to the locked doors. The tactician notices his coworker staring at him waiting for orders. Fearing the group is going to dump the leadership role on his back. Annoyed by the responsibility, he asks if she doesn't think that's a super heavy and exhausting burden. The ex-med student confesses she understands how fear makes people dependent, but apologizes for putting pressure on him too. Sighing heavily, the boy admits he's been doing a lot of thinking about this whole final destination concept. The girl darkly suggests that the absolute final stop for any human being is always inevitable death. Our MC silently agrees that the absolute end of every life really does finish 6 feet under. He reveals he thought about jumping out if a fatal word popped up, but got scared he might just be leading the team to a slaughterhouse. Praising her logic, the rookie agrees that the death theory is super solid and really well thought out. Totally surprised by his sudden backup, Young Un is left speechless and blinks, confused by his reaction. Never dropping his confident act, the boy keeps control of the situation in a car totally dominated by constant panic. With his words locked and loaded, he flips the question, asking what the dictionary definition of destination actually is. The system announces the next stop is Peace Station, and he points out that a destination is a goal you haven't reached yet. His cold logic dictates the train is completely literal with its rules about sitting down and finding items to save everyone. He reminds them that even the victims at the previous stops paid the lethal price directly, with zero metaphors involved. Building his plan, the tactician figures the train's goal is to drop a person at a place they haven't achieved yet. He recalls that at Blue Station, civilians who weren't wearing blue clothes managed to walk out incredibly easily. The same massive success happened at the killer stop, because none of the passengers were actually serial killers. With that formula in hand, the kid deduces the riddle requires getting off at a station named after an emotion he isn't feeling right now. The machine declares their arrival at Peace Station while the chaos of survival eats away at the terrified humans. Taking the first step forward, Sol Im tells his shocked coworker that this is the 100% correct stop for them. Overflowing with attitude, our MC firmly decrees that he is going to disembark exactly at that location. In his quick mind, he reflects that it's human nature to feel pain, anger, and deep sadness during life. The tactician admits that finding an emotion nobody in the car is feeling is basically an impossible task. But he locks onto the huge, obvious exception created by this exact corporate nightmare they are trapped in. The glowing sign flips its name, announcing the peaceful and wonderful Taepyeong Station. The word directly points to a perfectly serene state of mind, completely free from any panic. The rookie's logic proves that no human could possibly stay chill under such a brutal death threat. Holding a determined look, he reaches out to help the cowardly man left shaking on the freezing floor. Offering a warm hand, the unlikely leader guides the group through the open doors toward their guaranteed salvation. Stepping up as the leader of the terrified group, Sol Im notes that the passengers just followed him and now there's no turning back. The peaceful station sign glows brightly while the boy focuses on the hope that everyone manages to escape together. However, the other survivors bug their eyes out in shock as they stare at the scene outside the train. A massive pool of blood covers the area, making the panicked group question if stopping here was actually a good idea. Clenching his own sweaty hands, the tactician admits he doesn't want to get off here either and mentally begs someone to convince him otherwise. Cutting through the despair, Go Young Un steps up, swearing that getting off at this exact spot is the right call. The girl argues that the newbie was the only one who kept his absolute cool, while the rest of the car was shaking with fear. She brings up the selfish jerk who went crazy trying to save himself, pointing out that their unlikely leader's attitude was completely different. Standing her ground, the young woman declares she'd much rather follow someone who actually shows they have a good heart. Inspired by her trust, the rookie takes the first brave step out of the haunted transport. Without hesitating, the coworker follows the guy, stepping right onto the blood-soaked floor of the freezing platform. The boy turns his head in surprise when he hears his name called out hesitantly by someone else in the group. That same cowardly man from before flashes a relieved smile. stating he also fully trusts the newbie's gut feeling. Utterly blown by the guy's attitude, Sol Yum realizes the civilian hid his own fear of getting off so he wouldn't drag the escape down. Swallowing his nerves, our MC agrees with the team and focuses on the ultimate goal of getting everyone out of this hell alive. Gathering the civilians on the freaky platform, the guy swears everyone will be safe if they just focus entirely on the feeling of moving forward. The squad breaks into a sprint, charging up the bloody stairs with the single thought of escaping this abyss. Soon, the glowing exit sign pops up in the dark, proving the crazy survival plan actually worked. A blinding light floods the room while a hyped-up voice congratulates the arrival of the company's newest recruits. Completely wiped out, the boy stares at the newly lit area, trying to process that the oppressive terror is finally over. Taking a deep breath, he starts mentally doing a headcount of the passengers who managed to outrun certain death. The newbie's eyes scan the relieved faces of the team, checking every single member who jumped off the haunted train. A massive wave of relief washes over the tactician when he sees that 5 people trusted him and survived. Sitting in front of a bright stage, the group celebrates the miracle survival that saved 8 souls from that bloodbath. The charismatic suit on stage hypes up the record number of 22 rookies who passed the lethal exam. Thrilled with the outcome, the host swears this entire class is destined to be legends in the corporation. The man excitedly mentions he can't wait to see HR's reaction to this epic achievement. Annoyed by the room's morbid vibe, the newbie notices the team's heavy silence as the host promises to reveal the MVPs of the night. Suddenly, a spotlight isolates our MC in his chair, revealing he is the absolute grand champion of the round. The host praises the kid's genius leadership while the boy stays paralyzed, trying to accept that this madness is his actual life now. The host walks up to the winner, handing over a mystery box and announcing it's a huge official gift from the company. Slowly pulling the lid off, the rookie stares at the shiny object at the bottom of the box without feeling a single ounce of hype. The boy's expression shifts to pure shock when the suit tells him to take a real good look at the surprise. Ignoring the kid's confusion, the host turns his back, laughing, and calls the dreaded Hunter Viper up to get his prize. The corporate awards ceremony rolls on, rewarding every traumatized survivor of that hellish night. Reaching the back row, the MC politely hands the special freebie over to the cowardly man. Sizing up the colleagues around him, Solom guesses the train cars operated in completely different realities and timelines. Showing zero pity, the newbie decides the selfish hunter is gonna have to drag himself to a hospital completely solo later. Back center stage, the host confirms all recruits have received their valuable item and gets ready for the final announcement. The giant screen declares the lethal trial phase is officially over, and everyone is now hired full-time by the field squad. Furious at the setup, a woman with glasses jumps out of her chair, screaming that not all the survivors actually pulled their weight to escape. Flashing a grotesque smile, the presenter agrees that justice must be served, and all the lazy cowards will be totally eliminated. Interdimensional portals rip open under the chairs, brutally swallowing the people who didn't contribute during the mission. The tactician watches the sadistic punishment, completely paralyzed by fear at the sudden deletion of his own coworkers. Young uncovers her mouth in shock, while the stage voice gives a cruel welcome to the 13 rookies left standing in the hall. Pacing the stage, the suit claims the stellar performance of this small group deserves some serious recognition. The corporate speech announces the positions are now permanent, and everyone has been promoted to full-time company employees. Suddenly, a shaking hand goes up in the middle of the auditorium, demanding an immediate resignation and an end to this torturous madness. The host asks why anyone would turn down such an amazing gig and suggests the kid listen to the sector's insane perks first. Yang uncautiously asks if they'll actually be allowed to leave safely after this, getting a cynical guarantee from the suit. The killer's smile returns to the monster's face as he swears the juicy offer will make everyone beg to stay on the job. Staring at the host's lethal shadow, the tactician realizes the punishment phase is over, and now it's time to drop the real bait. A glowing magic bottle pops up on the screens, revealing the biggest, most coveted corporate perk, the wish ticket. The MC hypes up the company's flawless tech, claiming even their hair loss cures are legendary. Raising his hand elegantly, the man swears the corporation's grand secret product has nothing to do with regular meds. The glowing potion promises to grant absolutely any wish the human mind can possibly imagine in this lifetime. Snapping his fingers, the speaker decides to do a live demo, taking advantage of the fact that it's his official payday. His pale hand pops the cork off the bottle, releasing a mesmerizing stardust that lights up the entire dark stage. The survivors murmur in fear, highly doubting that this absurd promise is actually real and possible. Downing the cosmic liquid without a second thought, the host lets out a scream of pure joy, celebrating the divine power rushing through his veins. Completely de-aged and surrounded by magic, the suit proudly shows off the bizarre, instant effects of the wish ticket. The recruits bug their eyes out in shock, seeing that the miracle potion actually managed to reverse the guy's age. The glowing panel points out that field hunters suffer the most, but they get their hands on that divine reward way faster than anyone else. To inflate the group's ego, the presenter claims the top 10 record holders for the prize came from this exact hazardous sector. Sol M sees right through the verbal manipulation and concludes that the body count of dead rookies is infinitely higher than the actual winners. Despite seeing the company's lethal trap, the boy admits the youth potion's magic is 100% real and functional. A heavy silence falls over the room, proving the promise of a real miracle has filled everyone's hearts with greed. Breaking the host's hypnotic spell, another hand goes up firmly in the middle of the dark crowd. A long-haired recruit asks if the crazy potion has enough juice to bring a dead person back to life. The desperate look in the young guy's eyes makes it crystal clear he isn't asking this bizarre question out of pure medical curiosity. The host tries to keep his upbeat vibe, grumbling that there's usually a pretty glitchy answer for that kind of question. He smiles condescendingly, claiming that breaking the barrier between life and death is an impossible burden to pull off. But clenching his fist with extreme violence, the guy mocks their expectations, hinting that the company surpasses any limit. The panel flashes intensely, burning into the rookies' minds that this cosmic ticket really does grant any miracle, no exceptions. With the bait fully swallowed, the hall doors swing wide open while the cold voice dares any cowards to walk out now. The voice on the big screen tells the approved recruits to grab the masks out of their shopping bags. Sitting there, Sol M stares at the packaging, totally confused. Exhausted, the kid internally groans that the day to get this item has finally arrived. Pulling the dark object out of the bag, a business card falls out with it, showing an emergency contact number. The newbie remembers the host's earlier advice and decides to deal with that sketchy piece of paper later. Holding up the spooky accessory, he focuses on the company's famous official mask. The gear is the ultimate symbol of the exploration team, and usually takes a shape based on the employee's starting year. While the MC cheerfully says his goodbyes, our hero just wants to reject the job and run for the hills. But he knows bizarre phenomena are scattered all over the city, and cowards don't survive out there. Thinking about the magic potion, the boy realizes quitting is suicide, and he needs to find a permanent escape route from this world. Across the room, the sadistic Sahian puts on his mask like it's no big deal. Meanwhile, Yong-un stares at the item in her hands, processing everything she just lived through. Sol M is amazed to see that, even after the bloodbath, not a single person in that group tried to run out of the hall. The manual said the accessory adapts to the new employee, taking on a unique shape based on the wearer's personality. Slapping the object on his face, the tactician is super curious to see what his exclusive design is gonna be. The dark smoke clears, revealing sharp, black horns sprouting from the kid's head. Yong-un notices her coworker's horns and asks, totally confused, if everyone's gear looks this freaky. Putting on her own mask, the girl gets little white horns and laughs, realizing she turned into an ibex. The main screen lights up again, congratulating the group for surviving the bloody probationary period. With their employment officially locked in, the new hunters prep themselves to face the real corporate madness. Suddenly, a floating notification pings, unlocking the user rights for the exploration logs in the newbie's system. Sol M bugs his eyes out, surprised by the random alert from his magic item. The display details that brand new special goods just became available for him. Knowing it's too risky to mess with that around all these people, the tactician decides to check out his prizes when he gets home. But the word home jams his brain, making the boy stare at the company's employee benefits flyer. Lost in his own head, the kid wonders if he even has a house to go back to in this alternate universe. Later on in a residential building, his squad partner cheerfully greets him in the hallway. Returning the greeting calmly, the newbie hits the button to call the elevator. Holding her suitcase, she asks if he also got the housing allowance, and the guy just nods. Sol M's phone threw an invalid address error when he tried to look up his old place. This system completely wiped his family data, leaving only vague records from his college days. With nowhere else to go, the memory of the train massacre pushed him to pick the most logical and secure option. The boy had no choice but to quickly claim the housing support offered by the corporation itself. He knew perfectly well that all the host's sweet, Talking was just a venomous trap to lock the newbies in. Yong-un mentions that 7 of the 13 recruits took the housing, leaving her coworker shocked by the number. The girl admits it's scary living there, but living rent-free near the base is worth it, and he agrees that being broke is way scarier. The elevator dings at the 12th floor, and the tactician admits the apartment building is actually super nice. Of course, the company's real goal was to keep the team trapped right next door, so they could exploit them. 7. Opening his front door with his bags, he immediately runs into the one massive problem with this whole sweet deal. Looking into the room, the newbie comes face to face with Sahyun chilling casually in the kitchen. The boy freezes in the doorway, processing that fate just made him roommates with the sociopath hunter. Trying to ignore the danger, his mind focuses on the crazy details of the magic potion and its limits. An incredibly awkward silence fills the room, while the deadly duo just stares at each other without saying a word. Noticing the veteran's medical patch, the newbie guesses the company fixed his eye and decides to keep his distance. Sol-im turns his head, walking straight for his own room, but his roommate calls out to him. The boy stops dead in the middle of the living room, waiting to hear what the guy has to say. Holding a threatening glare, the hunter calls the rookie again in a heavy tone. When the newbie turns to listen, the veteran leans back in his chair, giving off a totally unhinged vibe. Sahyun mockingly asks if it was super fun watching someone get their eye ripped out, making the kid mentally label him a psycho. Sol-im stays quiet for a brief second, his face covered by a tense shadow. Without taking a single step back, the tactician shifts his stance and walks right back toward the psychopath. In a fast, aggressive move, the newbie grabs the killer's collar with an iron grip. Radiating pure ice and sarcasm, the rookie agrees that he thought the mutilation scene was incredibly fun. The hunter freezes in total shock as the boy thanks him for the dopamine hit, and swears he'd love to see that bloodbath again. Squeezing the coworker's shirt even tighter, he boldly confesses it's been a long time since he watched such an amazing show. The kid lets go of the collar and pats Sahyun on the shoulder with massive hype, telling him to keep the good news coming. Giving off a highly threatening aura, the newbie orders the psycho to keep his corporate life very entertaining, leaving the man stunned in his chair. Sol-im finally turns his back and heads into his room. Escaping the living room, the tactician sighs in relief, realizing his epic mental theater act worked perfectly. He justifies the bluff by remembering his years of experience dealing with unbearable clients at his old firm. People like that fit the stubborn profile of making up realities in their own heads, and the best defense against them is a super aggressive bluff. He knew perfectly well the odds of them working together were tiny, so he used that bold lie to neutralize the threat right away. Stepping into his dark room, the newbie admits he just has to pretend to be a lunatic too, so he doesn't get stabbed in his sleep. Flipping on the light, he's amazed by the huge room, fully stocked with brand new factory furniture. The company housing is flawless, offering a private bathroom and a heavy-duty weekly cleaning service for dirt cheap. On the desk, the rookie finds a bunch of welcome gifts, expensive snacks, and his new office supplies. The boy gets that all this luxury is an aggressive corporate strat to stop useful recruits from quitting the base. Checking out the items left there, his eyes lock onto a black diary forgotten on the edge of the desk. Opening the little notebook from last year, he gets a jump scare seeing the word RUN written in giant red letters across the page. Staring at the message in pure dismay, the kid thanks the previous tenant for the desperate warning but admits his fate is already sealed. Tossing his jacket on the chair, he sighs in exhaustion, ready to finally chill for a bit. Knowing he's safe and totally alone, the tactician decides it's the perfect time to test his magic item. Wasting no time, Sol-im summons the little exploration notebook and grips it tight. The system's pages start flipping on their own at an insane speed. A little yellow smiley face sticker spawns out of nowhere, floating softly down onto the wooden desk. The system displays the smiley sticker's specs, revealing that the cheap merch is used to manipulate friendship. This relic creates a fake sense of intimacy in the target and is widely known around the company as the infamous bribe item. The manipulation power was so broken that the company just decided to scrap it and ban the tool entirely. A long boardroom debate concluded that the relic made missions way too easy, so they banned high-ranking suits from using it. Because of that, the current rule is that only full-time employees or higher-ups can actually use the buff. Evaluating the system, our MC is blown away, realizing he's going to unlock new gear every time he levels up in there. The kid flips through the notepad, thinking this will come in handy, but then faceplants onto the desk, regretting getting dragged into this world. Meanwhile, the night rolls on quietly while a flower vase decorates his dark bedroom. Sitting on the edge of his bed, he focuses on the fact that his terrifying new job officially starts next week. Trying to get some rest, Sol-yum rests his head on the pillow, groaning about the ridiculous amount of madness he lived through today. The boy's exhausted brain boils with freaky flashes from the survival test, making the newbie groan from sheer fatigue. The weekend flies by, and soon the massive daydream building towers under the clear morning sky. Already at the office, Go-young notices how awful her coworker looks and worriedly asks if he's feeling okay. Staring at his partner with deep bags under his eyes, he hears the girl ask if he had a rough night's sleep. Trying to play off the recent trauma, the rookie confesses he was plagued by heavy nightmares all weekend long. The elevator hums smoothly as his partner announces she's getting off soon on the 10th floor of the base. The corporate system splits up the field exploration squad, taking up every floor between 10 and 15. Wishing his coworker good luck, Sol spots the giant sign marking his stop on the 13th floor. The rookie walks down the quiet hallway, thinking that even the floor number feels like a tragic warning from the universe. Staring at the shiny plaque on the wall, he confirms he's finally found his new squad's official office. Opening the door carefully, the boy introduces himself politely, letting them know he starts working there today. Instantly, Supervisor Park Min-sung jumps up, hyped to welcome the newest member of the group. Leaning on the desk, Assistant Eun Hage darkly comments that their sector is famous because all the newbies always get wiped out. Hearing that morbid joke, the tactician turns to ice, processing the actual threat level of his new workplace. Outside, the sun shines on the corporate building, while the recruit seriously wonders if it's too late to just quit. Cutting the tension, the supervisor takes the floor again, congratulating the kid for surviving the lethal transit system. The newbie says thanks, but thinks treating a massacre like casual office gossip is completely insane. Suggesting a formal round of intros, the blue-haired woman officially identifies herself as the assistant manager. Right after, the hyper Min-sung thumps his chest, revealing he's the squad's top senior employee. Returning the courtesy, Sol-im states his name, and the boss tells him to chill, promising the kid will rank up soon too. Sizing up the situation, Eun Hage points out that quitting isn't a bad idea, since there are plenty of normal jobs out there. The woman grumbles that any job here always comes with the risk of bumping into some freaky ghost in the bathroom. The supervisor shoots back, reminding everyone that the manager had the absolute highest score on the company's entrance exam. Park Min-sung offers a chair and mentions that the big squad leader is currently tied up on a field mission. Suddenly, an old radio on the desk turns itself on, broadcasting the local traffic report live. The robotic voice lists the weather updates for Seoul, guaranteeing the sky will stay clear and sunny all morning. But the broadcast gets violently hijacked by heavy static and audio of furious drivers brawling in the middle of the street. The rookie stares at the device in total shock, realizing that weather report makes absolutely zero logical sense. Staring at the spooky object, the tactician instantly concludes that this old piece of junk is actually a real urban legend. The veteran hits the button to kill the radio and asks with a smirk if the newbie noticed anything weird about the broadcast. Praising the kid's sharp intuition, Min-sung states the recruit picked up on the item's creepy vibe super fast. The guy explains the device works like a daily horoscope and is officially classed as a harmless anomaly. Sol-yum is mind blown, realizing the corporation just casually keeps cursed objects running right inside the base. Pointing a finger, the senior jokes around, calling his coworker a nerd for knowing the classic term, the darkness. Ignoring the kid's denial, the veteran tosses a high-tech tablet into his hands and tells him to pay close attention to the video. The glowing screen plays the official training video made specifically to guide the squad's fresh recruits. Two cute mascots pop up on screen, giving a warm welcome to the new employees full of dreams and passion. The cartoon asks the audience what they think the grand corporation's actual line of business is. The answer pops up cheerfully, claiming the company focuses on brewing wonderful magic potions. The bizarre commercial swears their labs can synthesize any kind of medicine humanity could ever need. Soon, the mascots take on a dark tone, asking the newbies if they know supernatural phenomena still exist in society. The narration lists famous legends, proving that scary stories come to life all the time in the real world. The video reveals that the company's grand mission is to manage these violent anomalies and extract valuable loot from them. Using these bizarre materials, they manage to craft the famous magic potions that grant any imaginable wish. To harvest this insane raw material, the base relies entirely on the brave work of its field explorers. Watching the ad, Sol-yum is totally thrown off by the sudden, Harsh shift in the corporate message. The screen shows the cartoons fighting bravely to collect the vital ingredient ripped straight from the monsters. The system hammers home that extracting this dangerous substance is the one and only true mission for the hired hunters. Glaring coldly at the tablet, the tactician gets that all this kiddie theater is just a front to hide a dirty business. He concludes the company is nothing but a criminal syndicate profiting off selling supernatural drugs on the black market. The video makes it crystal clear that the core ingredient for the miracle cures comes directly from captured urban legends. The ad shamelessly admits that the biggest buyers for these potions are wealthy politicians and high society elites. Wrapping up the corporate pitch, the manual tells the newbies to grab their collectors and dive into the darkness without fear. The mascots wave happily, dumping the entire tragic future of the company right onto the shoulders of the poor field squad. As the video ends, Park Min-sung asks with a smile if the rookie paid close attention to the valuable lesson. Trying to keep his professional mask on, Sol Eum nods dryly, stating the presentation was definitely unforgettable. The senior mentions that the official term the veterans use to classify the legends is simply the word darkness, so he doesn't sound like a total horror nerd. The big guy advises the kid to always stick to that standard corporate vocab. Sick of all the forced positivity, the tactician just groans internally at the madness while the supervisor gets out of his chair. The veteran calls the newbie up for his first practical mission, since he just finished reading the squad's starter guide. Absolutely outraged by the rush, our MC asks if he's really getting thrown into the fire on his literal first day on the job. Staying totally chill, the senior swears the afternoon task is just a super light and totally safe exploration run. Just then, Unhage walks up quietly and presses a tactical syringe right into the rookie's tense hands. The item turns out to be the official essence collector, designed to store the dark energy harvested from the monsters. The woman tells the newbie to be super careful with the expensive gear and orders him to put on his protective mask so they can start. Holding the horned mask he just got, the boy listens to the supervisor tell him to gear up. Looking at the newbie, Min-sung notes, looking confused, that the mask's shape looks a lot like a little deer. At that, our MC is totally lost on the comparison and wonders to himself what this whole deer thing is about. Hyped up, the veteran jokes about it, swearing that the wild species is way tougher than your average deer. Now wearing his gear, Sol Im holds a tablet while the boss tells him to take a real good look at the screen. The display shows an online post offering 20 million to anyone who plays hide and seek with a ghost inside a store. Frustrated, the rookie asks why they're showing him this without any heads up. Answering calmly, the senior explains the internet challenge, and the kid asks why he's reading it right now. At that exact moment, the tactician's brain drops the hammer as he pieces the mission together. Dripping with chill vibes, Min-sung just tells the boy to relax and knock out the job nice and easy. Utterly mind blown, the newbie goes into pure shock, realizing the company is sending him in totally solo on day one. The corporate exploration system boots up to log the urban legend of the lethal hide and seek game. A blinding light fries the recruit's vision out of nowhere, signaling the immediate start of the bizarre scenario. Opening his eyes, he finds himself standing right in front of a brightly lit convenience store in the middle of pitch black. Our MC nervously confirms that this is the exact spot described on the internet forum. Stepping inside, the rookie scopes out the dead, silent vibe of the convenience store. The digital clock shows it's just past midnight, and he tries to comfort himself knowing at least he won't run out of food. Leaning on the counter, the guy deduces this zone is only meant to farm psychological jump scares. His logic tells him he just needs to grab a water and camp out in hiding for 3 days, easy peasy. But the boy's eyes bulge out in pure terror when he spots something horribly wrong in the room. A freaky, shadowy face stares right at the recruit from inside the drink fridge. The system manual states that this specific anomaly always involves running from a slasher ghost. Wasting no time, a monstrous ghost hand lunges out in the dark, trying to grab the invader's face. The legend says that getting caught by the phantom triggers a horrific and totally instant punishment. Our MC runs for his life down the aisle, desperately trying to outrun the lethal threat hot on his heels. Once caught by the monster, the cursed zone's entire time loop just completely resets from 0. With the escape botched, the clock rolls right back to midnight, trapping our guy in a bizarre loop.